This is Cybert signing into Red Alert 3 on the map Deep Sea for round 1 of the coverage of the 2021 Christmas tournament. This is the semifinals of the double elimination event. On the north side of the island, on the left, this is Dutch Army. He's playing red, he is playing allies. And on the south side, this, as the blue allies, is Andri. We have got a whole bunch of games with a whole bunch of great players coming your way, courtesy of the 2021 Christmas tournament, and we have got new maps. So this does, in many ways, look like a rotational version of Battle-Based Beta, but it has a whole bunch of changes, and I'm excited to see if those make a difference, how they play out, and just to see things a little bit differently. I kind of like that your third is on the high ground with your main, almost makes it like a pocket natural expansion kind of thing. But we have got a bunch of matches. This first best of 3 comes to you courtesy of Waff the Wolf and Unity is One, which is who Dutch Army defeated on his way to the semifinals of the winner's bracket. Meanwhile, Andri had to fight his way through Edvin, C9, and Bashley, which is kind of interesting. Those of you who remember the Christmas tournament from long, long ago, Waff the Wolf and C9Q9MD were the finals of that event. Now, both of those guys were perhaps not in tip-top shape when they competed in this event, but Dutch Army and Andri stopped those two allied players from rematching, from having another go from their Christmas tournament finals from so many years ago. Ooh, IFV tries to sneak in, gets caught by so many Javelin soldiers, and this is one of those things that if these players were not looking at these maps before the event, if they did not take the time to practice, stuff like this can happen, where you just get caught out of position, and you maybe try something a little bit sneaky, and it doesn't work because the other guy is ready for it. These ramps, I feel like, are either going to create a lot of interest and a lot of play, or it's just going to choke things up entirely, and I'm not sure which direction it's going to go. But Dutch Army comes up with his third refinery relatively quickly. Dutch Army having a pretty good year, coming out of a tournament finals against Demon just before this Christmas tournament, and looking to have a repeat to make it at least to the winner's bracket finals, but he's got to go through Andri first. Speaking of, on the other side of the map, we do have some players like Demon and Zugspitze, as well as Fordell, which means we've got more great action. And of course, the southern half of the bracket, the lower bracket entirely, 3 Javelin soldiers, it looks like, about to get eliminated. No one of them manages to escape, but a couple of Peacekeepers absorb a couple of shots from this mass PK IFV strat that Andri is going for. No airfield, no cryocopters thus far from these two allied players. It's going to be Guardian tanks. It's going to be ground-based plays for the current moment. A 4th refinery potentially on the way here for Andri as he walls that off and stops the dog from blocking his 4th refinery. So 3rd refineries are nice, but you know what's really nice? A 4th refinery. The Peacekeeper gets unloaded from that IFV, and the dog takes care of him immediately. Dutch Army sees an opening, starts opening up the walls on the left side of the map, and he's going to laser lock down that refinery so quickly, just blasting it to pieces, and even the Harvester will not escape as Dutch Army cleans that up. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Andri is going to be looking to try and put on his own pressure, do his own damage, with the Guardian tanks coming down the ramp, chasing Andri around. IFVs versus Guardian tanks, Andri versus Dutch Army, as Dutch Army is actually making some serious headway against Andri and is about to split Andri wide open. The War Factory goes down, the IFVs continue their charge forward, Guardian tanks getting called off the line, but that multi-gunner turret, the defense from earlier, scores another win, another kill, against these IFVs, as it's only PKs on the other side of the map for Andry. His assault is almost entirely anti-infantry weaponry. The IFVs don't have nearly the damage output that these Guardian tanks do. The War Factory has been eliminated. The MCV has been eliminated. Dutch Army about to run away with this game on Deep Sea, and Andry has been defeated. The GG gets called, and that will do it for game number 1. Dutch Army showing that his performance against Demon was not some kind of fluke. Andry has been a consistent face in the finals for the last 2 years. He doesn't make it to every tournament finals, but he's usually in the semis, as he is now. And if he's not in the finals, it usually means he met one of the finalists a little bit early on. And here, Dutch Army showing some good games and showing some power against a more established player like Andry. Let's jump into game number 2, which takes us to Industrial Strength. That's right, it's not all going to be new maps this time. We are going to see some old favorites, some old classics as well. Kicking it in the north, playing red. Coming off of a hot win, this is Dutch Army. Meanwhile, on the south side, playing blue, looks like opening up double racks. This is Andry. By the way, before we get too crazy with these games, I do want to give a special thanks to Rage of Heat. He's the guy who runs these events, but this time, you know, he donated $200 basically of his own money to the prize pool of this tournament. But he wasn't alone in that. Some other people joined in, so a big thanks to Strider, who donated $215, Kay, Chris, and Zouth, who all also contributed. Okay, he just snipes the garage right out of the gate. He does not want this to be a game where the garage has anything to do with the victor. The double barracks sticking around, a lot of infantry coming out from both players. 2 barracks on each side is a quick way to drain those bank accounts. But a big thanks to all the folks who supported this tournament, who donated to the prize pool, giving us nearly $700, and I think 5 or 6 of it ended up in random prizes. Actually, no, there were 7 $20 random prizes for these 3 events. And of course, Rage of Heat, he's the guy who doesn't take $700 and hand it to one person. He spreads it out not only amongst like the top 5 players in this double elimination, but also amongst 3 separate events, so that people with different schedules, people who things don't quite align one event for, can still participate in the other events. And that's something that Rage of Heat has been doing for the last year or 2. He mixes traditional longer events with much shorter events that give a little bit of a variety for people who are looking to play some games but don't always have the time to commit to a longer format. MCV move on the way from Andry. He couldn't stay away for too long. His MCV was just calling to cross the map. He wanted desperately to get onto the other side of the map, and we have seen some weird games develop from this situation, especially here on Industrial Strength. I do feel like the garage normally is a little bit more present in this sort of match. Andry, he's up against the ropes, but he is not down and out in this best of 3. He's got a chance to come back, and then of course if he loses here, well, he still drops down to the lower bracket, but he's got 1 shot left to try and push Dutch Army down to that lower bracket himself and advance on to the winner's bracket finals. Oil Derrick getting sniped. Dutch Army is kind of getting stuck here, having to clear out 3 buildings potentially at once, and this is just a super delay to anything that Dutch Army might have wanted to be doing out on the map. The first multi-gunner turret gets deployed, and I assume that means Andry is going to be dropping his own multi-gunner turret soon enough, but no, it's not even queued. He was going for this expansion out on the water. He doesn't have anything queued to potentially defend. One dog gets a great bark off as these peacekeepers attack Dutch Army's remaining barracks, and actually, no, that's a peacekeeper up to the high ground, not even javelin soldier, as this MCV cuts and runs. He drops a naval yard. He's going to have riptides, potentially even hydrofoils if he upgrades, and he can start getting some units out into the water to contend this area of the map and potentially take it away from Dutch Army. Dutch Army trying to sneak through the base. Does he have a cryo shot ready? That might be why these peacekeepers are making their move now instead of waiting for a little bit longer. 3 Peacekeepers versus, well, no, it's 4 Peacekeepers versus 4 now, as it's going to be all about the control, all about the shields, and who's target firing a little bit better. It looks like Dutch Army getting a bit of an advantage as, well, the Riptide is going to completely shift things anyways, and it looks like Andri is going to be able to clean up those Peacekeepers sooner or later. 2 refineries, 1 refinery in advantage, and an oil derrick there for Andri. Dutch Army having a little bit of trouble, and now multi-gunner turret versus multi-gunner turret, but one guy has got a Vindicator as well. The Vindicator gets a nice bombing run there, and Dutch Army will eventually clean up Andri outside of his 3rd base. The first Vindicator of an allied mirror, and I can't believe it's, after the first couple of minutes of game number 2 of this series. Dutch Army keeping that barracks around, keeping those Peacekeepers around, even the multi-gunner turret being a little bit of a threat, as Dutch Army just wants to clear out these structures. And 2 hydrofoils, making this a little bit of a dicey situation. 3 hydrofoils even, as it looks like Dutch Army is going to have to come up with some better play to hold on to his 3rd base. This is not the way, as Andri is just going to get free kill after free kill now with 4 hydrofoils. 1 on the weapons jammer and the other 3 ready to blast anything that gets deployed. Another weapons jammer being deployed, as it looks like multi-gunner turrets are going to be facing off out there on the water, and Andri is just overwhelmingly going to win these engagements. He's got the better tech, he's got the better setup. The Vindicator does get a bombing run off, but it's not nearly enough to break down this attack and to stop Andri from advancing on the 3rd refinery of Dutch Army. Dutch Army needs a better plan. Andri is just winning this engagement. In every decision, he is making the right call. The refinery is about to get shut down. If he sells it off, he gets a little bit of cash back, but it does not hold off Andri for any longer. Even the airfield just is going to have to be sacked, and Dutch Army is going to have to try and come up with some better plan to win this game. Riptide's coming in for the kill. The power plant is going to be sold off immediately. The Riptide's going to be getting taken out, and actually, the Vindicators are going to try and refuel at least a little bit here on this airfield. One of them almost getting sniped as those hydrofoils get a couple of shots off, and no, they actually all survive. I can't believe Dutch Army somehow was able to keep all of those Vindicators alive just by barely enough repair. And is he going to engineer cap this airfield? I think that's what Andri is about to do. No, he goes for the Javelin Soldier. He doesn't care about trying to get that airfield. Meanwhile, more Peacekeepers going to try and break into the base of Andri. Dutch Army rebuilds his airfield in a little bit of a safer location, a little bit safer from any hydrofoils, and Andri has completely forced Dutch Army out of his rhythm, off his game, and now it's even going to be the Peacekeepers trying to kill this Harvester. Unfortunately for Andri, he didn't go for any additional crushes. He was too busy breaking everything down on the other side of the map. 3 refineries up and running on the north side of the map for Andri, and it looks like we're going to be doing the old trading places switcheroo for these 2 players. Dutch Army getting blocked by a Peacekeeper of Andri on the north side of this spawning location, and unfortunately for Dutch Army, Andri is just running away with killing absolutely everything he can get his hands on. 1 power plant does still remain. Dutch Army places that refinery down next to his opponent's power plant, which is not something you often see. Vindicators coming in. It's going to be mass. Oh, the Vindicator bombs just getting absorbed by that Assault Destroyer, and it's not even enough. Dutch Army does survive with 3 Vindicators, and these Javelin Soldiers, 2 of them going fully heroic, 1 a single vet status, as it looks like this Peacekeeper is going to go for the kill on the Harvester or the refinery, perhaps, as Dutch Army establishes his 2nd refinery on the southern half of the map. He goes into low power mode, and his entire main base has been gutted. Andri is ready to move in to a new home, as Dutch Army has already done that in Andri's old home. Another power plant sniped. Andri trying to gain every possible advantage, just kill after kill after kill, never giving a moment's rest to Dutch Army, and Andri pushing forward. Vindicators getting sniped nearly out of the sky by the Javelin Soldiers once again, and Andri closing the noose around the neck of Dutch Army, even expanding in the southern seas to that waiting ore refineries on the south side of the island. Dutch army going for the crush with the MCV. He's got full health, or nearly, as these peacekeepers start to chip away from that. And this MCV is actually allowing Dutch army to do a great job of chipping away at the army of Andry. It's not going to be enough one single cryo blast. Andry not really firing off any cryo blasts in return. I'm not sure where he's spending his upgrade points, but in this particular case, he's not utilizing that cryo shot very much. I guess he did break down a power plant with it earlier in this game. Those Vindicators so close to death as those Javelin soldiers take volley after volley against them. 4 refineries for Andry, possibly a 5th one coming very soon, and then who knows, maybe even a 6th or a 7th down in the Southern Sea. One Riptide gets crushed. Andry coming in here to try and finish things off. The Apollo even waiting as this MCV gets targeted down. Dutch army in control in the last game, but Andry feeling like he's returning to form in this game. He says, I want to go to the finals. I want to advance on forward, and you are in my way. Peacekeeper is going to get sniped as these Riptides turn back around. The refinery getting targeted down. The Apollo's waiting for the Vindicators to just get off the deck. One refinery, one harvester about to get sniped. Dutch army has been defeated, and Andry takes the score to 1-1. Dutch army having a great performance in game number 1. Andry faltering, and then they just reverse position here on industrial strength. Dutch army feeling like he had a plan by sniping that garage early on, but I really love what Andry ended up doing. It wasn't a turret push where you just kind of get in the other guy's face and start dropping turrets all over his base, hoping to disrupt stuff. Going for that naval yard, going for those hydrofoils, and then engaging only from angles where he wins and he has a distinct advantage was brilliant from Andry, and not necessarily the stuff that he's been known for in the last year and a half or 2 years, where it's like a different side of Andry coming out, really owning his namesake, and coming out with some clever plays that are just smart, make sense moves. So now let's see how this series resolves in game number 3. Which takes us to the map Liberation Freeze, another one that we have, I think, never seen before on this channel, and I'm loving those ideas. In the north, kicking it as the blue, playing as the allies. Once again, this is Andry. And that, of course, means on the south side, having a great game 1, but not so great game number 2. As the red, this is Dutch army. Old Dutch army. Ooh, what's out here on the... Oh, it's just a power plant. Never mind. For a second, I thought he might have been rushing a naval yard, and I was like, that is a bit of a different tune than we have seen this guy play before in this tournament. Oil derricks get grabbed up by both players. By the way, I do want to give a thanks to the folks who support the channel over on Patreon. Guys like OzMedia, TheArbiter, Admiral Akbar, 47, Deadly Shadow, Dmitry K, Anoxic, and newcomers like JhinW, Lily R, Breathofire, Shanrox, Spud, Brian, and Mediastorm. Big thanks to all those folks. Always appreciated, never obligated. Andry versus Dutch army, not a series I would have said at the beginning of the year would have been a tight back and forth, a close, could go either direction, and we might even see these guys rematch in the lower bracket or in the grand final. I would not have predicted that at the beginning of this year, and yet here we are. It feels like Dutch army has really grown into his own over the course of 2021. It feels like Andry, tier 2 for Andry, by the way. It feels like Andry has really maintained just a good general level of performance in tournaments, outside of tournaments, in team games, whatever. He is always someone to look to. And like I said earlier, he doesn't always win the tournament. He doesn't always make it to the finals, but he usually has a good performance. And if he doesn't make it to the finals, he is right there next to the finals, giving it to the guy who goes to the finals back and forth. Guardian Tank and Peacekeeper versus Guardian Tank and Peacekeeper. You can't complain about cryocopters in this series. As much as people love to dog and hate on allies, this is not the series for that. Dutch Army and Andry bringing out the Guardian tanks, 2 on the front lines, and Andry already with the early advantage, and this is the point where in a mirror you go, I've lost. And Dutch Army from this moment forward is here to prove us wrong. How in the world is he going to try and pull a win out of this situation, out of this game? He's starting it on the other side of the map, an IFV and a Peacekeeper trying to break down this refinery, kill off this Harvester, and it looks like he's going to get the kill on that Harvester, but he's going to have to trade the IFV for it most likely. Harvester goes down, and the attack on the front lines does get hold off. No, the IFV might actually escape. Andry goes the wrong way around his own refinery. Are you kidding me? He loses the opportunity to cut off that IFV, and now this Harvester is about to get back online, but that lost mining time and, of course, the 1,000 credits to rebuild that Harvester are the things that are going to help offset the loss of this oil derrick by Dutch Army. Dutch Army is playing from behind on the eco game, but he's just leveled the playing field and maybe even gotten a bit of an advantage for himself. I mean, oil derricks are nice, but they're not a full Harvester worth of economy nice. Every single Peacekeeper sniped, every single Peacekeeper cut off. That was like 12, maybe 1,400 credits worth of Peacekeepers that Dutch Army just meticulously hunted down and annihilated. Every single one of those units Andry spent cash on and will get no more value from. And now actually it looks like Dutch Army is about to do the exact same thing. The split of the Peacekeepers, the Guardian tanks are going to crush every single one, and it looks like 2 might actually escape the guns of those Guardian tanks. The terrain causing a bit of a hang-up there for Dutch Army. He loses 1 Guardian tank, and it's like 6 or 7 Guardian tanks versus 4. Dutch Army is going to need some amazing control to hold this off, some multi-gunner turrets perhaps, or some great wall placements to make this work. Laser painters on both sides. They're going to be trading 1-to-1, but Andry is going to blast through the forces of Dutch Army. The laser painter disappears for Dutch Army, but it reappears, or for Andry, but it reappears there as a fresh Guardian tank spawns into this location. Dutch Army losing the War Factory will lose this game. 3rd refinery out on the water, and Dutch Army is going to have to start wheeling and dealing, spinning other directions than Guardian tanks to try and come up with a win in this game. A wall segment, no, a multi-gunner turret gets deployed, but it's immediately eaten up, just money down the drain. Dutch Army, his last tanks getting surrounded, getting pushed into the corner as Andry takes the win on land, and Dutch Army is out on the water with an airfield trying desperately to find an angle to make a win happen in this game. Dutch Army with so few options left. A Harvester escapes to the north side. Perhaps he can send it up there and try and get a sneaky double expansion on the northern seas of this island. Every play is in the hands of Andry. He has got every advantage in this particular game. He even snipes that Harvester there. Maybe even that power plant out on the water is a potential exploitable weakness of Dutch Army. I like what Dutch Army is trying to do, but I do not see that he is going to have a clear path to victory. His own airfield should be coming up. Andry should be constructing his own airfield soon enough. Not even his 3rd refinery is actually on the way, so he's now got Guardian tanks that can be slowly picked off one by one, perhaps, by this Vindicator. Nice bomb splitting there. I guess you go for the non-heroic ones because you don't have enough Vindicators to kill them off quickly to burst them down. 2 IFVs are here. They can be trimmed off by these forces. There's a chance that Andry didn't realize that Dutch Army... Ooh. 1 Vindicator gets sniped. The other Vindicator does escape. 3 IFVs, but 1 gets sniped. There's a chance that Andry did not notice that Dutch Army snuck that command post out there, and so now Dutch Army is up to 2 refineries, possibly a sneaky 3rd refinery in the north, and Dutch Army might actually be able to make something happen here. He can only strike in areas where Andry is not. This many Guardian tanks, this many IFVs, they're going to destroy IFV turrets, multi-gunner turrets, as soon as they are deployed. No riptides for Andry means that he can't step out onto the water, but he has dropped a naval yard on the north side of the island. He will eventually just probably circle the map with his dolphins. I mean, it would be a smart thing to do. Airfield, but the Vindicators are actually realizing this. Dutch Army realizing the situation he's in and that he needs to snipe that Dolphin from Andrea. Second Dolphin emerges from Andrea, and Dutch Army just calls the GG. It would have been an extremely awkward and difficult game to fight out, and he taps out after trying to formulate a strategy, losing that Guardian tank battle in the middle of the map. Dutch Army was looking for the comeback, but was unable to find it. And Andrea advances into the finals. Dutch Army falls to the lower bracket. Let's see who will meet Andrea in the winner's bracket finals of the Christmas 2021 tournament. And that sends us to the burning fields of Mers Landing, which actually is a map that we have seen before, but boy, has it been years. One of the last series or games that I cast before stepping away was indeed on Mers Landing. In the northern position as the Yellow Soviets, this is Dimon. And in the southern position on the other side of the island as the Cyan Empire, this is Zugspitze. We have an EVS to follow up our AVA, featuring two guys who pretty much always provide good games. In tournament settings, Dimon does have a winning record against Zugspitze, but Zugspitze has given Dimon a run for his money a number of times. And, well, I do also know I actually was emailing with Zugspitze not too long before this. Spoiler alert, he has not been playing a lot of Red Alert 3. However, that being said, to get here to the semifinals, Zugspitze has come through. Sylvia, who's someone I don't know, DDF, Chris, and this was after Chris actually beat Pika, I believe 2-1. So Chris knocks out Pika, well, knocks down Pika, and then Zugspitze knocks down Chris. So Zugspitze may not have been playing a lot of Red Alert 3 recently, but it looks like he's still in pretty good shape. But we'll see how the man, the myth, the legend, Dimon himself, how Zugspitze can handle such a monster as this. Now, on his way to the semifinals, Dimon came through Zed, who I'm not familiar with, and then Fordell and Vindies, which is pretty impressive run. Fordell and Vindies, maybe a little rusty, maybe not full power, but both of those guys, again, have shown good games over the course of this year, though infrequent. And Dimon was a bit of a late sign-up, so I'm sure a lot of people, when they saw Dimon signed up for the tournament, because for the first, I don't know, week or so of registration, Dimon was not signed up for the Christmas tournament, and then sort of late in the game, he signed up as, you know, after a good number of people had already signed up and were probably hoping Dimon wouldn't show up. Of course, it's a tournament, it's Dimon, he is the favorite to win it. And with it being a double elimination, he sort of has two chances to do it. But it's also up to Zugspitze to be the first guy to take a map off of Dimon. Dimon got to this place through two pretty incredible players, and a third player I don't know as much about, but without dropping a map. And it looks like Zugspitze is going to be going for a fast tech option to try and break Dimon. The barracks on the right side of the map does get shut down. Dimon is not going to let any of that kind of nonsense stand while he is around. And this hammer tank is going to go for the trade against the Tengus. And the Tengus really just want to force that harvester away as long as possible. Unfortunately, one Tengu does get trapped by that terror drone, and Zugspitze will not be able to escape scot-free. Pretty quick super reactor. It was after the war factory, but it was a war factory before the second refinery. So a safe build from Dimon and relatively safe from Zugspitze, but now following it up with a fast tech, and I can only assume this is going to be tier 3, but, you know, he might be going Eureka, he could be going Shogun battleships, we'll see, but I assume it is going to be Wave Force artillery coming on out for our Empire player. Another Tengu gets caught. Dimon probably starting to realize that, hey, this guy doesn't have a lot of Tengus. He doesn't seem to have a lot of forces, period. And that is a distinct disadvantage that Zugspitze has chosen to embrace. He's got 2 refineries, he's got an oil derrick, and he's got very few units around the map. At the same time, he's trying to put on a bit of pressure. Yep, Demon has realized that something is up. He sees that King Oni, and he knows that this was the play. The economy is weak. The army is weak. It's all about the next couple of minutes for Zugspitze. He's going to try and come up with some kind of play to topple Demon. And he has to do it at least twice in a row, or at least once, and then I guess again in the third game. Because a best of 3, that doesn't leave a lot of room for error against a guy like Demon. If you mess up on the first game, it's unlikely that you will advance when you're up against Demon. One-way force artillery, 1 King Oni steps out onto the field, and then the follow-up, a Chopper VX and a Tengu. We're sort of downgrading our tech as we go on with this production. But of course, this is an Empire player who lost all of his Tengus, who lost most of his other units that he had produced up to that point, and has been having a real hard time keeping stuff on the field. Although this striker did manage to survive, at least for now, and yeah, it looks like the Bullfrogs head away from the southern location, so that Chopper VX will be able to make it home safely. I thought for a moment that the Bullfrogs would be able to intercept that Chopper VX and get basically a free kill there, but Zugspitze makes it back home. A couple of Tengus being sent out for harass. Zugspitze kind of trying to make up for lost time in the harassment game up to this point. Both players just sending out individual conscripts and Imperial Warrior for that extra bit of scouting. One of the things is Zugspitze has been missing the Tengus flying around the map for most of this game, so his scouting has had to shift a little bit to be those Imperial Warriors running random paths through the middle of the map, as we saw just a minute ago. One-way force artillery, well, you can do it with 1, 2 would be nicer. So, it's all going to be Tengus after this. We'll see. I would love to see 2-way force artillery, but it might just be 2-way force artillery that get their guns stolen by hammer tanks. We shall see. King Oni going to take a couple of shots at this MCV, and Demon trying to skirt around the south side of this terrain so that he can sneak into the main base, and he possibly has a terror drone packed up inside one of these Tengus, or one of these Twin Blades. The Tengu's taking a bit of damage. Nope, the Tengu's able to deal with 1 Twin Blade almost, but the Striker on the ground is going to push away the MiGs of Demon. The Tengu's re-engaging with the MiGs with the help of the Strikers. They're still not able to overcome those air forces of Demon. The Bullfrogs go for the kill, and it looks like the MCV actually gets caught before the terror drones can save it. This is 4 terror drones locking down just 1 King Oni, a double vet King Oni, and most of Zugspitze's army has already been pulled to the other side of the map, but it's going to take a long time for this hammer tank to break down this King Oni. Fortunately, there are 2 hammer tanks and now some Twin Blades as well to deal with this King Oni. 1 Bullfrog could get sniped by those Tengus on the ground, chasing those Bullfrogs away. And it looks like there is 2 terror drones get the infects on the King Oni and the Striker. Tengu's going for the transform. The Bullfrog's sort of getting pushed away, and it looks like Zugspitze is trying to pull something out of not quite nothing, but not quite a good setup here. He's going for the hammer tanks, cleans up 1 hammer tank for free, a second hammer tank getting targeted down, another terror drone busts on out of those units. It looks like the King Oni goes down, another Bullfrog steps on out, and the Striker's a little bit slow to jump on the Bullfrog. It's getting lots of extra shots. The terror drone gets cleaned up, the Bullfrog gets chased away, and the War Factory is under threat. 1 last Bullfrog emerges before finally these Strikers continue to reign supreme. A hammer tank getting targeted down, and Zugspitze has an opportunity to kill Demon in this game. There's the transform, all of the Strikers at once. The War Factory. Oh my gosh, is that it? Did Demon just take the L there? I think he did. Demon, he had no MCV, he had an airfield, and that was it. Zugspitze comes out with 1 win against Demon. Demon felt like he was in good shape coming into this tournament, and Zugspitze managing to scrape a win off, but certainly it is not over yet, and in the past we have seen Demon be down in map score and come back swinging. And that sends us back to the map Deep Sea for the second time in this coverage in the north. Playing as the Yellow Soviets. Give a cheer for Demon. The first map loss of Demon in the Christmas tournament. On the south side of the island, playing Empire, this is Zugspitze. So glad he decided to participate. So glad he was able to make it work. Glad to be able to see some games from this guy. And Demon at match point. I mean, it doesn't take many wins to get to match point from a best of 3. But even so, taking the game off of Demon, it's not something you expect to see happen more than once. But there is always a chance that Zugspitze is able to win this series and advance on to the finals to face Andri. Now, Demon versus Andri, that is a finals we have seen before. Those two guys have matched up a good number of times over the last 2 years. Many of those series have been amazing. Maybe a couple of them were slapdowns. But generally speaking, those two guys always provide good games. And I don't know that I have ever seen an Andri versus Zugspitze series. Now, that winner's bracket final, I believe, is a best of 5. So we'll get to see potentially 5 games between the winner of this series and Andri. Ooh, a sudden transport, and it does get revealed, although the tank buster gets sniped basically immediately. This is a lot of conscripts managing to make their way into the base, and there is actually 2 ramps into the main base that are relatively close by ground to each other. The Tengu going to start working away at these conscripts, and I don't know if the best move is to keep attacking the MCV or try and get some damage on the Tengu, but he's actually doing a 50% damage against this MCV, forcing a lot of walls out as well. A burst drone going for the attack on that. I think he was trying to just splash damage down that flak trooper. I know someone in the comments not too long ago actually said, hey, you should actually be able to attach burst drones to infantry. And I was like, well, that's an interesting idea, but that would certainly change a lot of things. And it's like, that's what Zugspitze looked like he was trying to do. Yeah, if he could have killed that flak trooper, that would have been an amazing move and a wonderful thing to witness, but I've never actually seen that. I don't know that it's possible. I don't know if burst drones even do splash damage like that to pull that off. I think all of the dojos have been deployed. Now, there's an additional dojo. All right, fortunately for Zugspitze, he's got the war factory right nearby to go for the repairs. 4 Tengus are here, and, oh, there's no bullfrogs. Demon completely skipped the bullfrogs. He's got terror drones, he's got flak troopers, and he's got sickles, but he's got no bullfrogs. So Zugspitze is trying to pull some kind of an angle out of this engagement. He gets both of the terror drones, and actually another terror drone as well, just I think as it spawns in. Demon strapped for cash, and his harvester's off the line, not working very quickly. His MCV taking just a smidge of chip damage. It looks like, oh no, I assumed the dojo was for an engineer for the MCV, but no, apparently it is not. And that dojo is heading off somewhere else to go far, far away. Actually just to the bottom of the ramp, I guess. I'm not exactly sure what Zugspitze has planned for this. He manages to sneak out 2 strikers, so identifying the lack of bullfrogs. There's a crusher crane, but no bullfrogs, and no bullfrogs building. 2 strikers step out onto the field, and the first super reactor is under construction, so the first tech building is coming up, and Demon could actually have a bit of a problem. Okay, first bullfrog is out. If it was me controlling it, the bullfrog wouldn't do anything, but with Demon, he might actually be able to beat 2 strikers with 1 bullfrog. We'll see. The strikers get pushed away. Again, as long as the bullfrog is there, the strikers have so much less value. If a Tengu gets mixed into it, okay, maybe the Tengu and the strikers can make something happen. But the strikers get pushed away. The barracks actually gets canceled. I'm not sure if that was an intentional body block barracks or what, why he decided to build that. The oil derrick in this position, a little bit vulnerable to a snipe, but that's actually pretty similar to Battle Base Beta as well. Striker's taking a bit of chip damage. Demon getting his feet underneath him and starting to take control of this game. It looked like he was going to have some kind of lucky runaway extra bit of damage against that MCV, and that kind of fizzled out, and then Demon started taking his own damage, strapped for cash, low on income, and having some problems, especially not having any bullfrogs and having incoming strikers. But it really does feel like Demon has started to stabilize, and he's very close to entering like a power-up phase where he is just going to take control of this game. One Tengu gets infected immediately by that terror drone. Harvester completely off the line, and yeah, just go for the bullfrogs. I mean, you might as well get as many bullfrogs and Tengus as you possibly can. Bullfrogs and terror drones as you possibly can, excuse me, with the Tengus. Might as well get as much value from them while they're down on the ground. 4 tank busters circling through the middle of the map, looking to potentially engage, but both players rebuilding their barracks and getting themselves back up and running. I really feel like it's a mistake for Zugspitze to not actually repair his MCV, either with the repair tool or an engineer, whatever, but I feel like it is a mistake to not do that. I would have swore that I just heard a burst drone attaching to something, but I don't think it actually was. I think it was a sound from something else. Tengus circling through the middle of the map. Hammer tanks, bullfrogs, and some infantry. Again, in other hands, this is not a particularly good composition, but in the hands of Demon, it actually is a pretty fearsome composition regardless. He's able to make a lot happen with a little oftentimes. Building gets cleared out. Zugspitze going to be going for the attack on those hammer tanks, keeping all of his tank busters balled together, and it looks like he's going to get kind of in a mess against these hammer tanks. The Tengu's trying to get on top of them for that splash damage to be able to weaken the hammer tanks. One hammer tank, I think, going down, a second one maybe getting close to elimination, but every single Tengu will go down. Those tank busters not getting the value that Zugspitze was hoping, and instead these bullfrogs absorbing a number of shots so that the hammer tank to deal the damage, and Zugspitze's ground army falls to pieces against Demon's superior army control. Up to the high ground, not quite going to be able to force it up there. Oh, the Imperial Warriors unfortunately just getting sniped by that terror drone. Couple of bullfrogs low on health. 3 of the 4 of them are not looking too great. And this is not the wall swag build, but this is a lot of walls that are being constructed by Zugspitze over the course of this game. Harvester gets sniped by Demon. Nicely done there. And actually, these bullfrogs are completely cut off from the hammer tanks, so they can drive all the way around. But the hammer tanks could potentially get jumped on. They're literally having to just hang out near this wall. The MCV did get healed up, and these strikers are trying desperately to find an angle that allows them to kill the hammer tank. He gets one hammer tank. That's a nice little win, a nice little catch for Zugspitze. I didn't even notice that he had gotten his nanotech mainframe, that he had gotten up to that tier 3, or at least the potential of tier 3. Refinery restarts the Harvester. Demon, it looks like, has not quite taken a 4th refinery just yet, but I imagine that is near in his future, unless... Oh, he might have crushed his MCV, and I just didn't realize it. Walls are being reestablished. Twin blades are being added on to the army composition. Demon might sort of be on 3 refineries for the rest of this game. In that case, the oil derrick helps offset that difference just a little bit, but not a lot. As long as that Harvester keeps getting sniped, it really doesn't make as much of a difference as you would like. One hammer tank gets sniped. Another hammer tank will get eliminated. The bullfrogs cut off again by the walls. Zugspitze is actually defeating this army almost entirely with walls and positioning. Are you kidding me? All of the entrances to this base being cut off by walls. Demon getting sliced in half by the slowest force fields you've ever seen in your life. You hate Protoss force fields. Don't even joke about these walls. They cost money and they build slowly. And he just cut this army in half with those walls. Demon, it looks like, crushed his MCV, so instead of taking a 4th refinery behind that attack, which is what he would typically do, or get a battle lab or whatever else he might want to do, he's done none of those things. His airfield was maybe a little bit late. He didn't have the MiG presence that he would have liked for that engagement, and he lost every single hammer tank for almost nothing. He got the kill on the Harvester, I think, twice. That's a nice bit of damage. But the reset on his army is really frustrating to be rebuilding that instead of spending your cash on, you know, another Harvester or another refinery or, you know, getting the Battle Lab up and running. Any of those things are better. Twin Frog is the composition. The MiG's going to be engaging with the Tengus. The point defense drone's really helping out, getting those Tengus to 1 kill. And the Harvester gets sniped immediately. The rebuild doesn't happen quite quickly enough. Demon probably looking to jump on that Wave Force artillery. As long as it's exposed for a couple of seconds, then he can jump on top of it and get the kill relatively quickly with those twin blades. Demon, he's got a great army comp, but he doesn't have the strength of a ground army. So rushing in, killing some buildings, contending with the forces directly of Zugspitze is a little bit difficult. This is definitely a air-favored map in considering that the Bullfrogs can't really keep up with the Twin Blades. Nice Harvester snipe. Perfect moves here by Demon. Keeping so much pressure on Zugspitze that Zugspitze can't actually take a 4th refinery for himself and get ahead on Eco. Bullfrogs in the middle of the map, definitely a good spot to keep them. You know, you can't run all the way out to the water to try and follow those twin blades. With the paths that they are cutting across this map, it's really difficult. Tengu's going to try to engage with these MiGs, and yeah, Demon is actually handling this so well. He's now back up to 4, now 5 hammer tanks. He's rebuilt his entire army, and he's done it while keeping pressure on Zugspitze, and that's why this guy wins so many tournaments, is why he feels like he's unbeatable, because even when something goes really wrong for him, he still manages to rebuild, to keep his macro up, and then to keep the pressure on, keep the attacks up. A couple of these hammer tanks may actually get sniped before this engagement even really starts. 2 more hammer tanks reinforcing, 6 in total. Tank Buster tries to go for the shot, but it's not fast enough, and here comes the walls perhaps once again. We'll see if Zugspitze can make the magic happen again. Demon is going for it. He's working for the strike. The aircraft move in first. The strikers get 2, maybe 3 kills there. Even a MiG getting eliminated before the hammer tanks get up onto the high ground. The Bullfrogs keeping the Tengus away, keeping them in the sky, and the hammer tanks now going to be circling the strikers. There's the transform. The MiGs moving in, but they're a little too late as the Tengus find their targets. The hammer tanks wipe out the Wave Force, but the Wave Force and the strikers wipe out the hammer tanks. The Twin Blades are all that remains, and they're actually going to get hunted down by the Tengus. The MiGs and the Bullfrogs having been dealt with, and the army gets wiped. Zugspitze sees the Remax of Demon and smacks it down. Demon finding what almost looked like a win for that engagement, but his MiGs and his Bullfrogs got split up. The strikers were dealing with the MiGs, and then by the time the Tengus transformed to be in the sky, the MiGs were so weak that they dealt with them easily. And I didn't actually see what happened to those Bullfrogs. Both players wiping their armies. Couple of Bullfrogs leading their way. If he gets out a Wave Force Artillery, he won't. Okay. He's trying to drop additional walls. Oh my gosh, that is a giant... He must have a decent bank to be able to drop that many wall segments at once. They're not hugely expensive, but oftentimes in these tough back-and-forth situations, that striker gets the kill on that Bullfrog. And actually, the striker that took the damage is the heroic striker that can repair itself. Tengus circling out to the right side of the map. The striker's not sticking around to try and get extra bits of damage. It would have been great for Zugspitze if he would have been able to turn around and take a couple of shots at those buildings, but he doesn't risk it. Those strikers are maybe just too precious. Walls have been established once again. The Wave Force Artillery have not emerged, I don't think. And that's a real hammer tank. For a second, I thought it was a sudden transport, but no, that's a real hammer tank that just got left behind. Unfortunately for Demon, I don't know if he realizes that. I assume he would be attacking something with it, but it's just probably going to get eaten up by these strikers. And yeah, maybe even earn one of them a heroic status. Not quite. Terror Drone gets unloaded. Bullfrogs save that Twin Blade from the Tengus. Very nicely done there by Demon. One Wave Force Artillery steps out onto the field. Could actually go for a King Oni. I'm not sure if he wants anything else to anchor his ground army. But 4 Strikers also a good idea. All right, Defender Corps. The Twin Blades have been chewing you up this entire game, so getting a Defender Corps is definitely nice. Demon is so close to being able to run away with this game, but twice now, Zugspitze has slapped down Demon's game-ending attempt to win this match. Zugspitze feels like he's fighting for his life to stay alive in this tournament, but honestly, he's the one who's up 1-0 in this series. I keep forgetting that. I'm so used to Demon being the one ahead on points that I keep forgetting that Zugspitze is technically on match point, which feels so weird because so rarely is Demon actually on match point. The Terror Drone gets the infect, but that might actually be the better of the options. 2 MiGs! Right at the edge of range, 2 MiGs get eliminated. And maybe I was wrong. I thought the War Factory was a little closer. Okay, he's trying to do the thing where you kill the Terror Drone. It's not working. You can force fire the Wave Force Artillery through the unit onto the ground behind it. And normally it kills the Terror Drone inside of it. It's one of those alternate ways. Sort of every faction has a couple of different ways to clear out Terror Drones. Dolphins and Stingrays can also clear out Terror Drones from naval units, and then the Wave Force Artillery is a different way to clear out Terror Drones other than the repair drones, of course, on the Mecha Bay or on a naval yard. But that's sort of the alternate way. I don't know why that didn't work. I think maybe you need it to be a little bit more charged up or something, and that MCV crushing decision has, I think, sort of painted Demon into a corner. If Demon had been able to get enough army without crushing the MCV, he almost certainly would have been expanding behind his attacks, and this game would look entirely different. But because he never rebuilt that MCV, he has never taken a 4th refinery behind any of these attacks, Zugspitze has a fighting chance. Otherwise, Demon would be doing so much damage against Zugspitze that there would be no contest. Why is that engineer on the front lines? I'm not sure what's exactly going on here, but Demon charges in for another run. Also, we're not seeing a lot of special abilities being used. Hammer Tank step forward, and the Bullfrogs getting separated once again over on the right side. Something jumping into that building. MiGs finally showing up a little bit too late to the party as they're going to now trade against the Tengus. The Hammer Tanks and the ground forces have been cleaned up, and the Strikers go for the transform. Goodbye, MiGs, as the Wave Force Artillery clear the Bullfrogs, and once again, Demon has been cleaned out of this base. It's going to be the Terror Drone, but no escape for the Twin Blade. Not a Terror Drone, a Tesla Trooper. No escape for that Harvester. No escape for the Twin Blade. Somehow this engineer survived. Nothing survived that engagement except the engineer, and I don't know how that actually happened, but one way or another, that engineer is just hanging out at the top of the ramp while there are 2 hungry bears waiting for him to die, waiting to go and eat him. Demon's entire army gets wiped once again. It pretty much always comes down to Zugspitze is masterful at splitting Demon's army. Demon's army, in some cases, are just a little bit better, perhaps, than Zugspitze's, but every time Zugspitze manages to split the Bullfrogs, the MiGs, and everything else. The Hammer Tanks get separated. In this case, the engineer jumps into the observation deck. The Tesla Trooper gets split off to the right side to go for the harassment on that Harvester, which was a great move by Demon. I really love that. But Zugspitze managed to survive with 2 Wave Force Artillery after that engagement. He's about to have point defense drones as well, and there goes that economic advantage that Demon has maintained for most of this game by sniping his opponent's Harvesters, even though they have the same number of refineries. Demon has maintained an economic advantage, and that just got blasted away. Demon now needs to split the forces of Zugspitze in half, maybe more than once. Bull Rush takes down 2 of the hammer tanks. This is going to be an incredible hold for Demon if he's able to make this work. Bullfrogs are almost the only thing that remains, but the strikers aren't even in the sky. They're just standing there, useless as anything, right in the face of those hammer tanks, body blocking and waiting for terror drones to kill them off. Terror drone gets 1 infect, but not a second infect, and the entire army of Demon gets it demolished. That was a 2-0 win by Zugspitze. Are you kidding me? He advances on to the finals with a 2-0 map score against Demon. Something that we have not seen in a long time. And Demon will drop down to the lower bracket with Dutch Army and with, I guess, Fordell and Vindy's, DDF and Chris and Pika and a whole bunch of other really good players down in the lower bracket to fight it out to potentially come back in the grand final. So let's jump into the winners bracket finals. Welcome back to Liberation Freeze for the winners bracket finals. On the north side of the island, playing the Blue Allies, coming through Dutch Army to get here. This is Andre. And on the south side, busting his way through Demon, 2-0. This is Zugspitze. The Chinese player playing Japan, named after a German mountain. It's a funny mix of nationalities, but that is where we are. What an amazing set of games this has started out to be, and what a great set of participants we got. After some pretty lackluster tournaments throughout the middle of the year, we are really ending it with a stellar list of participants. So many so that, like, the top 4 is only half of the good players. There really were like 8 players who all could have potentially been in that top 4. Maybe 9, but 8 players who could have all been in the top 4. There were like 7 of those 8 I've seen, or 7 of those 8 or 9 I've seen in tournament finals in 2021, and they showed great games. I think only Fordell I haven't seen in a tournament final, but he's shown some good games, and C9Q9MD hasn't been in a tournament final this year. But they've both shown some good games, and both in the past were champions. Both in the past did have that level of skill to be able to take an event. Just maybe they're not quite there today. So after some ups and downs in 2021, we are finishing strong for sure. Tengu's coming out to the south side to pick off that dog, but also airfield gets spotted pretty early on. Not the fastest airfield possible, but you do want to confirm that the airfield play is in the works. First Tengu going to chase away, or first extra Tengu going to chase away that Vindicator. The Apollo shows up. Could be a transform on this third Tengu to go for the jump on the Apollo, try and force an engagement here. He doesn't transform fast enough. It is going to be like 4 Tengus, but now there's 2 Apollos, so the math gets really weird, especially when one of the Tengus has low health, and the Apollos are actually going to be able to catch it out over the water. Gets the kill. Perfect kill there by Andre. Really solid opening to get that and follow it up with a quick third refinery. The high ground is also pretty quick, but he gets blocked. The wall segment block coming in from Zugspitze. He gets the block on that, gets the burst drone out over the water as well. And we'll have to see. Zugspitze is about to be behind on economy, which you never want to be against an allied player. You always want to be on the same number of bases or ahead, because they tend to play more efficiently than the other factions. Double airfield. Wow. Okay, so Andre, feeling the lack of airfields in the first series, is going double airfield as his opening almost in this finals. A lot of Tengus circling around to the north side of the map. Zugspitze has all of his timings pretty much down perfect. Is he going to go for the power plant? I mean, you might as well try and get as much... Oh, he goes for the wall burst! He actually breaks open the wall to get some additional Tengus in here, but he's instead going to go for the harvester on the north side, and eventually he's going to try and escape on out of here. 3 Apollos are watching over top, though, so this is going to be a lot of potential damage output. kind of on the south side of the island. Zugspitze moving out with some additional forces. The MCV here to try and go for the crush, and this is going to have to be evac time for these Tengus. Going out to the water is a good option. Trying to get as much splash damage on these prospectors is also a pretty good option, and it looks like Zugspitze is going to try and come in from another angle and do some more damage, but I'm not sure that 3 additional Tengus is going to be the answer to the question that he wants. The Apollos now have to make a decision, and it looks like one of the Vindicators may go down. One goes down before anything even happens, and now the Tengus need to transform to save themselves and avoid those Apollos from just killing them off. The Vindicator comes back through for another strike, but he buys time for his fellows on the north side of the island to escape. Zugspitze may not be coming out of this engagement perfectly clean, but he is making a bunch of good decisions on the fly to turn a bad situation into a better one. And Andri is not missing a beat. He is finding almost all of the weaknesses and making very few overstatements with his forces. He's coming through in pretty much all of the right ways to do as much as he can and clean up as many of these Tengus and stop them from catching his forces. The Vindicator does not get caught. It gets pulled back. The Apollos will lead the charge. Good control there by Andri. Both of these guys, I feel like, just operating quite highly in their respective factions, making basically all of the right decisions, but also, you know, not playing completely perfectly and having to improv and come up with other ideas on the fly at the same time. Andri having to rebuild power plants. That is not the damage that Zugspitze was hoping to do. He was really hoping to get more confirmed kills and a bit more quickly and a bit less costly than he currently is. Another squad of 3 Tengus. This point defense drone is going to be doing a lot to help these Tengus stand up against the Apollos. 2 Apollos do manage to escape. 2 Tengus at least going down in that engagement. 1 Apollo gets caught, a Vindicator as well, and now he's going to be able to camp on the airfield. This could be lights out. No, he pulls off the airfield, cycling around to the other one, and he finds his angle. Andri has to wait for reinforcements, a multi-gunner turret, something, but nothing is actually queued. Zugspitze breaks off. He goes for the harass. 3 potential locations. He hits 2 of them at the same time, and it's more Tengus all day long for Zugspitze. There's the transform. The Apollos being able to clean up a couple of Tengus in the sky. Going to be actually clearing out a big section of those walls and going for the power plants. 1 harvester down, a 2nd harvester eliminated, and it looks like the rebuild is going to have to be the only hope for Andri. His economy is actually getting cut out from under him, but it's these constant power plant snipes that are causing the real snag for Andri. Otherwise, the harvesters could be rebuilt. Andri could stabilize, but the power plants also having to be rebuilt, and these little catches here and there by Zugspitze is giving him the ability to stay in this game. Otherwise, Andri would probably be running away with this game if Zugspitze wasn't finding as much damage as he is. I cannot imagine what the lag was like when these guys were playing. Zugspitze out in China. He could be playing over a VPN, I don't know. And I'm not sure where Andri is playing from either. But quite far away, I think these 2 guys are. And hey, as much as we all love Command & Conquer, the underpinnings of how the game works, especially online, are not particularly smooth on the best of days, and not smooth when you've got players continents apart. So the fact that these guys are pulling off any of these moves at all is pretty incredible. Tier 2 on the Mecha Bay, and Andri finally breaks out of the cage of Zugspitze, but it was costly. He ended up doing a whole bunch of damage there in the last 30 seconds or so to even the score and to come up a little bit more ahead even. But this 3rd refinery coming up from Zugspitze, the snipe of the oil derrick earlier on, and the fact that Zugspitze still has his own are little things that really make this, I think, a very even game and maybe slightly favored one way or the other, but I feel like it matters more on how these next couple of engagements go than how they are right now. Vindicators come in, but point defense drones doing wonders to keep these Empire units alive. 1 Apollo gets struck down by Zugspitze right on the edge of the striker range there. The dojo also picking up the point defense drones, and unfortunately for that dojo, it won't necessarily be that effective for very much longer. But Andri going for this 2 airfield play has kept him alive. I wondered if he went for a naval yard, got hydrofoils or riptides, if that had maybe would have given him a better setup to deal with some of these attacks, but at the same time, he's been doing such a good job with the mobility, with the agility of these air units, that it's hard to imagine another decision working out better than what he's already got going. 3 Vindicators circling around. I assume at this point, Andri is feeling comfortable enough to... Andri is feeling comfortable enough to go for Tier 2. If that is Tier 2, it's not done just yet. Nope, not finished up. Strikers taking their shots. 1 Vindicator very, very close to death, but it does get cleaned up by the Tengus, actually, and it looks like another Vindicator went down in between those walls. Strikers and Tengus, they are a powerful combination, but most people who play online that I see don't handle Strikers and Tengus as well as Zugspitze is right now. And by the same token, most people playing allies online don't handle Apollos and Vindicators, just Apollos and Vindicators, as well as Andri is handling them right now. 2 additional Imperial Warriors showing up at that moment to continue the damage output on that power plant. Snipe it just before that Riptide shows up. And the Riptide almost ignoring those Imperial Warriors for a couple of seconds there. That guy's fully heroic. If only he had the hospital, he would be have even more health. Take that Riptide even longer to clean it up. A Dolphin heads out, and it's going to be the cryo shot catching this Harvester. Perfectly done there by Andri. He gets the refinery as well, so the Cryo Blast going to end that expansion completely. Riptides against Tengus. Andri is not paying attention to that refinery that is frozen. Does he get the kill? And no, he doesn't. He gets the Harvester, but the Dolphin wasn't ready for the attack, and the Dolphin missed the freeze ray as these Riptides are going to get eaten up on the front line. One power plant half health, the other one down to about half health now as these Tengus go to finish it up. Strikers getting into the skies. The multi-gunner turret goes into low power mode. 2 Vindicators get eliminated. 2 Apollos as well. No, just 1 Apollo gets wiped off of the face of the earth, and the power plant getting eliminated means that that multi-gunner turret is useless. Sitting there on the ground, the airfield gets cleaned up, and the Yurii mini-sub going to try and chase away that Dolphin. Riptide gets eaten up immediately as it deploys out onto the field. And this MCV, low power mode for just a second as the power plant comes online. And the MCV gonna hide next to that multi-gunner turret. Another Tengu coming in. The reinforcements slow, but getting there eventually. The naval yard getting shut down. A great move there by Zugspitze. Cuts off a complete range of attacks that Andri could potentially send out against him. And the striker getting... almost getting taken out there, but that is a fully heroic striker. That guy will eat through buildings like nothing. The Tengus getting through the Vindicator on the ground. No, they go for the transform. Both Vindicators go down while the Yurii mini-sub continues to work away at that airfield. Zugspitze sealing this game with a non-stop attack. Once he got rolling, he did not stop moving forward. Andri leaves the game. The GG gets called, and Zugspitze takes game number 1. Andri is no slouch, and that was a lot more back and forth than a 1-0 score makes it seem. But Zugspitze ekes out the win in the end. Let's jump into game number 2. We're back on Industrial Strength. Down 0-1 in this series, just like last time we saw him here. This is Andri. Let's see if he pulls basically the same kind of stuff, because that game was like brilliant execution when he played Dutch Army on this map. Meanwhile, on the south side, playing phenomenally, this is Zugspitze. A great performance of Tengu control and keeping an allied player occupied. I thought Andri was going to be able to run away with that game, but it just never happened. Zugspitze sniping those power plants, I feel like that's an underrated move. It's something that most players don't bother to do, that they don't take the time or the effort to really go for it. And in this case, I feel like it worked out really, really well for Zugspitze, because rebuilding the Harvesters, okay, it's 1,000 credits, but if you lose a Harvester as the Empire player, it's 1,400 credits. So adding those power plants on, slowing your opponent's production, forcing them to rebuild those power plants as well, adds that insult to the injury. The airfield gets deployed. This is not the same kind of build. I mean, hey, the last game was an Allied v Allied, so it makes sense that he would do a different build for a different matchup. Wall segment's going to get deployed here for Zugspitze, sells off the dojo as well, and he's going to be able to take control of those buildings. Always happy as the Empire player to take control of a couple of buildings like that. Javelin Soldier cleans up the burst drone, and it's not going to be an immediate, like, cryocopter or anything. So these wall segments are just a little bit of defense, but not necessarily I'm baking myself into my room, I'm not going to come out, and I'm just going to build cryocopters until I'm finally happy with myself. It is going to be an expansion, and then cryocopters. I mean, we'll see, you know, maybe there's no cryocopters, but I assume. I always assume. Maybe I'm wrong. Buildings get cleared out, wall segments get cleared out, and Zugspitze, he is starting with this Tengu opening, which these are one of those units that many low-level Allied players have a lot of trouble with. Well, actually, players of all kinds have trouble when your opponent just spams Tengus, and then other players learn how to deal with it, and they get quite good at controlling the Tengu herds and dealing with them. And most of the time, that is exactly what Andri does. Vindicator is not going to get sniped, almost gets sniped, and this is the kind of stuff that we expect to see from Andri. Zugspitze making... Okay, never mind, it's 1-1. That is the end of the game, and I was going to talk about how I assumed Zugspitze had sacrificed those couple of Tengus on the left side because he was going to do something with the Tengus on the right side, but then he just turned back around, and he basically lost them all to those Apollos, but... okay, not much more to say. Let's jump into game number 3. And that sends us back to Deep Sea. I feel like I'm getting happy to see this map now. I'm digging it. I don't know if it'll turn out to be a good map in the long run, but these first couple of games, I'm really liking them. In the north, as the blue, it's Andri. Now even in score 1-1. Meanwhile, on the south side, the Empire, this is Zugspitze. It is possible that there was something else going on in that game. Either Zugspitze messed up a part of his build, and so he felt like, oh my gosh, I'm already dead, and then he lost those Tengus, and he's like, well, I'm really dead, I'm just going to leave the game. Or there was lag or something else going on. I mean, I did mention in game number 1, these guys probably have quite a lot of latency when they're playing these matches. Could have been that, you know, factoring into why some of those Tengus ended up dying. We've all had that happen to us. Game number 1 didn't seem to be really affected by that so much, but anything is possible. At any rate, Andri evens up the score 1-1. I guess you could call that, like, perfect Apollo control? Actually, I don't think he lost a single unit. No, he lost maybe some Peacekeepers. Yeah. That was a close to perfect game for Andri. To be fair, it was like 3 minutes long, so it's not impossible to have a perfect game when it's only 3 minutes long. But Andri coming out ahead in that match and coming out even in the score. Dog gets the scout pretty much immediately. I love this little back access through the water. Dogs, bears, you know, burst drones can fly straight there. But dogs and bears can kind of get access to the base relatively quickly. I guess Riptides could also, or assault destroyers, but that'll be a little bit... Hopefully you'll see that one coming if they're driving all that way to over there to get into your base. Vindicator's cleaning up some of these Imperial warriors. Andri looking to take a third refinery relatively quickly. And, well, Zugspitze is doing the same thing. Andri going for the airfield, I feel like, is a good move. Now, depending on how these games were played out on the day, it's possible Andri was able to see some of the series. I don't know who all was streaming on the day, but it's possible that Andri was able to see some of the games that Zugspitze played against him on. Maybe not, because the semifinals might have been happening at the same time, but if he did, It would be interesting if he's choosing to avoid the ground because he saw how much Zugspitze was able to control the game through controlling the ground armies. Imperial Warrior clears out the building. Third Refinery up for both players. And not a lot of Tengus. The Third Refinery coming first is the reason for that. Also, the Tier 2 on the Mecha Bay, the other reason for that. But a faster Third Refinery than we've seen in the other two matches, where there were a lot more Tengus out on the field. I think that dog finally got cleaned up. These are Tier 2 Tengus, so these are special Tengus coming on out for Zugspitze. MCV gets shrunk down, and the Cryocopter does get spotted. That doesn't look like a typical expansion path, so, we'll see. And Andrew, it looks like, is going for the turret push. I hope you brought your cold weather parka because you are going to need it. I think a barracks going to be established here by Andrew. The Harvester has already gone down. And yep, there's the barracks placed behind the Imperial Warriors. Try and get some dogs, try and get some Peacekeepers out onto the field. Imperial Warriors actually jump inside of the building. A pretty great position overall. An additional power plant as well. And Zugspitze from this point forward, I mean, he can keep this around as a bullet sponge to absorb some damage, to absorb some time. But Zugspitze has to come up with some kind of a plan to beat this. Demon is, I feel like, the only player who consistently can... I don't even know if consistently is the right word, but, like, consistently win. Although, as I said that the first time, I was like, I don't even know if he consistently wins against these kinds of builds from this situation. Like, when you don't realize it's coming, you get the fast Third Refinery, and it just does not pay for itself in any way. If you know that it's on the way, you usually skip the Third Refinery. You probably also skip Tier 2, although maybe you still get it. You probably get out 2 strikers or 2 defender cores first, and not just the one. Hey, kill the oil derrick. Get as much value as you can. He could also split off 1 Tengu for each Harvester. Try and just split up the damage and go different directions. Tengu's transforming to try and survive a little bit longer. Cryocopter giving chase. Vindicators may also be closing in on these Tengus. Yep, 2 Vindicators coming in from the north of the screen. Well, perfectly executed there by Andrew. No losses at all. 1 Cryocopter on the front lines. The second Cryocopter could be added on at any time. Even, okay, well, never mind. I was going to say even a War Factory. I am kind of surprised by that, but he actually sells it off. And no Guardian tanks in this game, it seems. Lots of Apollos, though. One Defender Corps. It's such a hard equation to try and figure out on the fly if you're the Empire player. Every Defender Corps that you build can get sniped by 2 Vindicators, perhaps without getting any shots off at all, and it doesn't move, which means it is susceptible to those cryo shenanigans. Tengu's going to be going up against the Apollos. The point defense drones doing a lot to help them survive in this match. 1 Apollo does get sniped, and the Cryocopter's circling around to get the tank busters, but 1 Tengu does get the kill on that Cryocopter. Striker's gonna close the distance, and it looks like the Apollo's getting pushed back, but raining from the sky is the last couple of Tengus. 1 Tengu survives. No, they all get cleaned up as the reinforcements come in for Andrew. The last couple of Apollos showing up to clear out the skies. 1 Cryocopter remains, but I think only 1 Striker remains as well. What a wash this engagement is. Another Striker joins the fray just as the Cryocopter expires, and the Tank Buster keeping up the damage on that airfield. Has Zugspitze actually done it? Has he broken Andrew's front line? At the same time, it cost him just about everything. How much further can he even go with this push, with this aggression? The MCV packs up. The MCV is going to be able to escape. If that multi-gunner turret wasn't there, this would be a different equation. The MCV cell, that is what prompted it, it seems. I'm not sure where that engineer went. Okay, he's going for the observation post. Not a bad use of the engineer. I mean, as much as you can. Yep, the engineer will go for the observation post. That'll give a nice bit of vision to Zugspitze. The MCV repositions behind the multi-gunner turret, gets another airfield, and this is going to be an even tougher base to break. And you don't have another MCV that you can just sell off for the cash boost to make this happen. It is 2 refineries, 1 oil derrick, basically for the rest of this game for Zugspitze. Both of these guys 1-1 in map score, so it's up to this match to determine who has that little bit of momentum. And depending on how this game ends, it could be really crushing for Zugspitze to have a unfortunate loss like Industrial Strength followed up with a more tense back and forth high-stress game like this. And that always affects people's mentality differently. Some people are very chill about it. I mean, this is not a real game like Fortnite with, you know, lots of money on the line. This is just a fun game that we all play for laughs. And so lots of people are very casual about it, but nerves still are a factor of all of these engagements, of all of these tournaments. Strikers moving forward, these cryocopters absorbing so much damage, and the Tengu's getting pushed back. The Apollos, oh, he actually got another MCV! I don't know if that was the right move, but I guess you gotta try. We'll see how this works out for him. If he had been able to clean up 2 of these cryocopters, I would feel good about that MCV. But the fact that there are still 2 cryocopters there, 3 cryocopters, 4 cryocopters there, means that I'm not sure that building that MCV was the right call. It's a tough spot no matter what. Point defense drones could make a big difference in this engagement. Ooh, the cryocopters all survive. Andri just barely being able to escape with one of them. The rest of them are doing pretty good on health. MCV moves forward. And round 2, except in this one, Zugspitze doesn't have a refinery to kind of body block in this position. Zugspitze would love to be able to get an expansion out somewhere on the map to be able to make something happen. There's going to be Emperor's Rage adding some extra damage output. Oh my gosh, the shrunk down Tengus fire so incredibly quickly. It's almost comical how quickly they fire. They're going to be able to jump on the cryocopters. 2 cryocopters get eaten up, and it's going to be up to the Apollos to deal with the rest of the Tengus. And that one Tengu just flying back and forth, trying to confuse and cause problems for those Apollos. The Apollos have a minimum range to fire, so if you get inside of that range, they can't attack you, and I think a whole bunch of them were looking at that Tengu, and were already auto-attacking it, and were trying to follow it as it rushed back and forth. That was a funny way to handle that engagement, where Zugspitze was deliberately running that one mini Tengu back and forth in front of the Apollos, almost like he was, ooh, Cryoblast gonna fire off. All of the army avoids it, but the Striker, the Defender VX core, does go down. 2 cryocopters back out on the field. The Vindicator gets away. There's the transform. This is going to be death for these Tengus. They don't even get the cryocopters. No strikers on the ground to finish things off, and it's going to be the cryocopters sealing the deal. Zugspitze has been defeated. That was way too many Apollos for him to engage, but he felt like he had no other options with the cryocopters bearing down upon him and no other ground-based anti-air. That does it for game number 3. Andri is now primed to go into the grand final as the winner's bracket champion. Which sends us back to the burning fields of Mers Landing. On the north side, as the Cyan Empire, this is Zugspitze. I imagine trying to keep his mentality together. Maybe feeling like he should have practiced a little more against the against the allied cryo builds. On the south side, as the blue allies, this is Andri. He identified the weakness of Zugspitze and just camping over top of him when he knows the strikers are gone, when he knows the tsunami tanks are gone, and it's like, You're either going to abandon your base with Tengus, which don't kill anything quickly. I guess they kill infantry quickly. But don't kill buildings quickly, and let me freeze your entire base. Or you're going to have to transform, and that's why I've got 6 Apollos standing by. Imperial warriors getting out onto the map pretty darn quickly. I assume... Oh, it's going to be a naval yard. Never mind. I was like, I assume it's going to be a war factory for Riptides, but no, it's a naval yard for Riptides. I always forget about these backdoor naval yards that can sneak out on these maps. Imperial warriors getting all over the map, and I do love that Zugspitze went for it. He was like, I'm going to try and get both oil derricks, and he actually does get them. Oh, the Imperial warriors sniped the engineer. Are you kidding? How did that even happen? I can't believe he got a kill on an engineer like that. He gets both oil derricks, and then he kills the engineer as well. Is he going to block the 3rd refinery also? Because that would be pretty funny if he was able to do that. No, he won't. The dojo does go down, but what a phenomenal opening after you lose the industrial strength game, and then you have that back and forth, and you lose the deep sea game. And then you open by stealing both oil derricks, or stealing your opponent's oil derrick and sniping the engineer. That's pretty amazing. So much so that Andrew just kills the oil derrick. You can't really blame him. He's already sold off the barracks at this point. I guess he could sell his MCV to get an engineer if he really wanted it. But no, you kill the oil derrick. Yeah, that makes sense. 3rd refinery coming up quite quickly for Andrew. I think it's not going to be a fast 3rd refinery for Zugspitze. We saw him drop all of the walls up here, which isn't totally necessary. I think he was maybe worried about those Riptides pushing out across the map, and instead they went for the oil derrick. 3rd refinery coming online. A couple of Riptides could get caught out here. It's always weird when they have the Javelin soldiers inside of there as to whether or not they'll be able to engage nicely against the Tengus. In this case, they are. 2 of the Tengus just standing by doing nothing in that moment. Vindicator comes in, cleans up an additional Tengu. 1 Riptide will go down. A couple of Javelin soldiers getting low on health. The Peacekeepers unable to jump back inside. Imperial Warriors starting to put a bit of pressure on the other side of the map. That MCV taking a bit of damage, and it looks like the oil derrick will fall. It's going to be hard to stop that, yeah. Unable to stop that oil derrick from being eliminated, but that keeps all of these forces on this side of the map. He got the Vindicator on the deck. He got the Vindicator as it spawns in. Even the Apollo down to below half health in just a moment's notice. With this many Imperial Warriors, you need those Riptides back on the other side of the map, but now the Javelin soldiers are getting cleaned up one by one. The Riptide is going to be perhaps the real value target here. Stop it from crossing the map. Stop it from killing off these. He's not going Vindicators. He's not building any Vindicators. He actually can't kill these Imperial Warriors right now. Where's a barracks? Where's a dog? Where's a multi-gunner turret? Anything from Andrew. He's got nothing. He's got 3 Apollos on the deck, and where's the other airfield? Down on the low ground, perhaps protected by that multi-gunner turret. The Apollos are going Tengu hunting, and this is a great time for him to potentially get a Tier 2 upgrade on that mecha base, start getting out some tsunamis or some strikers, whichever way he wants to go. The power plant gets sniped, the airfield shut down, low power mode, and an exploitable power plant on the right side of the base. I hope that's Tier 2 on the way. This is a good number of Tengus. There's one on the other side of the map. It actually gets the kill on the Harvester. The Harvester trying to escape, but unable to escape the power of that Tengu. The Apollos will catch this Tengu and destroy it, but he will break down the walls. No, he barely breaks down one wall segment there. I assume that was an intentional move by Zugspitze. He was close to getting a perfect strike on that wall and breaking down like 2 segments that are really primo segments, but he can start attacking that refinery, and Andrew suddenly feels like he is in a tough situation. Tier 2 on the Mecha Bay. Power plant snipes are good. They are not going to win you games by themselves, but in this situation, killing both of those power plants makes that multi-gunner turret useless and forces Andrew to spend the 1,600 credits rebuilding those power plants and not building Vindicators. Nope, the Harvester is not going for the... The wall segment sold off, and he didn't actually go for the kill on those units. That's kind of actually bizarre. He's going to get a refinery. He kills a refinery. These are hero Imperial Warriors. I can't believe the amount of damage that Zugspitze is getting with these Imperial Warriors with so few units. Tengu's circling around to the south side. This is actually enough Tengus to contend those Apollos, not even counting the point defense drones. But with the point defense drones, it's more than enough. Power plants could be targeted down. He might just try and jump. He's going to jump on the airfield. Doesn't get the Vindicator, but gets everything else. And the Vindicator on the deck only buys enough time for one Tengu to get cleaned up. And this other Tengu actually survives with just a smidge of health. He manages to escape away. And once again, these power plants are in such a position that they can be exploited by the forces of Zugspitze. Not taking a third refinery seems to be his cue to victory. If he doesn't do that and he just pumps out a ton of units, Andriy can't deal with the attacks from every angle. The fast third refinery is what Andriy is used to playing against. The power plant goes down, and Zugspitze brings the score back to 2-2. Andriy with a point advantage, but no longer. And that is going to send us into the ace match of the winners bracket finals. We get our first rubber match of the longer series. Let's see who takes this and advances into the grand finals. Which sends us to the map Hard Lesson. This is one that we have seen many, many years ago. Some really incredible games on. Again, one of the kind of final tournaments that I casted back in the day had a great match, I think, with Vindies on this map when we were trying out some of these maps back then. On the north side, as the blue allies showing power, but also showing weakness. This is Andriy. Getting outplayed in some of these games, making his own mistakes, but coming back for a shot at redemption, a shot at the grand finals. This is Zugspitze. That game one, Andriy versus Dutch Army, Andriy got outplayed. And now, Andriy has brought it back with many solid performances. And actually, he's doing something a little bit spicy here. That is a far airfield way out in the middle of nowhere. And it's an immediate tier 2, so this game will be done and dusted probably inside of 5 minutes. Not sure which way it's going to go. One Defender Corps. Demon's answer for this is usually three Defender Corps, I think. But yeah, this is this rotational problem of you kind of can't defend all angles at once. You can't defend this power plant down here. If you do, you can't defend this refinery from there. And if you do, then you're either going to spend like 800,000 credits on all of your Defender Corps, or you're going to have openings, you're going to have weaknesses, and the defenders sometimes take just a little bit too long to actually establish themselves. Wall segments there. He's going to try and sneak out another dojo. 2 oil derricks is going to be really nice for Zugspitze, but getting the initial 500 credits can sometimes be a bit tough, but once you get it, you get the immediate cash back, so that's nice. One more defender I feel like would be really solid in this situation. There are no Tengus out on the map, and the first multi-gunner turret is going to be coming relatively soon. Imperial Warriors, sometimes a really good choice in this situation. 2 Imperial Warriors returning back home. And gonna be, what? 2 more dojos. Okay, this is not the Demon response, and I don't know where this is going. He actually sells off the barracks there. Or he's trying to draw the Apollo over into range of those strikers, and that striker, that's Defender VX core is placed like so perfectly that it actually pushes that cryocopter away. The multi-gunner turret having to contend with the Imperial Warriors means that it's not putting constant damage onto these harvesters, not constantly breaking down these walls, and having the extra dojos, I guess, means tank busters can also be deployed to the front line. The harvester heads off the line and is actually just going to go for the splash damage to try and do as much against these multi-gunner turrets as he can. The main base of Andry is potentially vulnerable, and I think Zugspitze might be trying to get something over there, but no, he's stopped. That dojo core is hung up in the middle of the map. The refinery gets eliminated, and the first piece of the dominoes fall. The first piece of the puzzle doesn't fit, perhaps, for Zugspitze. Andry bringing the pain. The multi-gunner turrets, cryocopters are here, and they are not going anywhere. This ring of 4 multi-gunner turrets here to stop any Imperial units that try and get out onto the field. And hard lesson might be where Zugspitze falls down to the lower bracket. Wall segments trying to come up, but he just doesn't have the cash to keep them online, to keep them building. And Tier 2, oh, that's a tough call. You get the tsunami tanks out, that's always nice. A 5th multi-gunner turret in range of the defender cores, and now it is do or die for Zugspitze. The time is running out. 2 tsunami tanks come forward. One of them shrunk down immediately. The Tengu's in the sky, not able to engage with anything. The Apollo comes forward, starts taking its shots. 1 multi-gunner turret goes down, but the defender also goes down. The defender on VX on the bottom gets eliminated, and it looks like the multi-gunner turrets just are not stopping. Engaging with different tsunami tanks at the same time, trying to clean up that power plant by sending Tengus crashing down. It almost works. The cryocopter finally goes down, but the tsunami tanks just don't have the strength in them to stop this attack. Multi-gunner turrets targeting down the harvesters, targeting down the refineries. Andry selling off a big chunk of those multi-gunner turrets. The dojo on the other side of the map will do nothing. Zugspitze has been defeated, and Andry advances to the grand finals with a cryo rush turret push. That's how he gets into the finals of the Christmas tournament for 2021. What a great series this was overall, and now we're going to check out the lower bracket finals to see who will be meeting Andry in the grand final. And it's time for a rematch. We are kicking it on Deep Sea for game number 1 of this best of 3 to see who advances to the grand finals to face off against Andry. On the north side, we have the Yellow Soviets, Dimon. And on the south side, dropping from a pretty harrowing experience in the winner's bracket final, this is Zugspitze. So close to going into the grand final and taking that spot, sending Andry down here to face Dimon. But instead, we will either be getting a rematch of many tournaments in the past year, Dimon versus Andry, or a rematch of the winner's bracket final, Zugspitze versus Andry. It feels like Zugspitze has a pretty good idea of this map. It feels like he's got more ideas for how to set up his base, how to win games on this map than some of these other players do. I don't know if he's actually played any of these matches before. By the way, War Factory after Second Refinery. I don't know if Zugspitze did any prep work for this tournament. I assume he didn't, because he was not playing Red Alert 3 before this tournament very much, and I assume that he didn't take the time to play new maps. But here we are. He feels like he has got this map pretty well figured out. Maybe not figured out, but he's got some ideas of this map. Super Reactor added on after the War Factory for Dimon. Dimon not trying to push in super hard. He's not super committing with a ton of conscripts, really spending a bunch of cash and then trying to get something done with it. Happy to occupy a couple of these buildings spread out throughout the map is always a nice move. Stop your opponent from capturing them. Give yourself that extra bit of vision, that extra bit of map awareness. Couple of bears. One on the north side of the base, one on the south side of Zugspitze's base. Third refinery coming up, but also a defender core. A little bit earlier on from this point, although he's sending it down to the... Okay, that was a misrally, it appears. The defender is going to be staying on the high ground, one place or another. I don't know where he's going with this. He's sending it way far out. What? I don't know what this is. The Defender Core goes down. That's just money way down the drain. And Demon is opening up this best of 3 with a base push right into the Empire third. Wall segments aren't going to be enough. A dojo does deploy. There is a Tengu here, but I don't think there's anything on the other side of the map going for a backstab, trying to get some damage done on the other side of the map. 4 tank busters eat up 1 hammer tank. The reinforcements might be a little bit too slow to really keep up the pressure. More wall segments being established. Zugspitze trying to get some kind of defense out onto the field, but it's going to be a Tesla coil shooting over the top of those walls, taking out these units one by one. The bear comes through. The tank busters all go down into the ground, and it is do or die here on the front line for Demon and Zugspitze. The Tesla coil gets canceled. The conscripts are going to have to pull back, and the MCV is going to move even closer to the front line here. The pressure is not coming off. Demon is not going to try and transition out to somewhere else, but a couple more blasts from these tank busters, basically for free, as those wall segments cut off that MCV. And once again, Zugspitze pulling something out of nothing, using wall segments, using this kind of... Oh no, the MCV breaks through the defenses. He gets the force move to crush the wall, but he's taking so much damage. That rear armor is so problematic. And now the MCV taking even more as he tries to rally his way out, but the MCV goes down. Demon falling apart, being pulled apart by the wall segments of Zugspitze. Imperial warriors rushing forward, so many of them going to clear out that building. The tank busters eat another hammer tank. And that is it. The GG gets called, and Zugspitze takes game number 1. Demon tries the aggression. I was genuinely worried for Zugspitze. I keep doubting this guy, but he's actually pulling it out. And it's so much about the wall segments slicing off pieces of the army, controlling where the front line actually is. Build a whole bunch of wall segments on one side, sell the ones next to the Tesla coil, break down the Tesla coil. As soon as the MCV comes forward, fire off 2 shots and build more walls. This guy gets it. There is something about this map layout that just really works for the way this guy plays this map. Let's jump into game number 2. And we are back on the little mini volcano mountains of Mers Landing. Once again here with this guy on the right side, the yellow Soviets. This is Demon. Meanwhile, on the left side, as the Cyan, you know him, this is Zugspitze. I'm glad he decided to show up, makes it to the winner's bracket final, defeats Demon, giving Demon his first and possibly his only map losses of the entire tournament. There's something about the way these two guys play that allows Zugspitze to beat Demon in situations where it feels like other players would falter. And I mean, indeed, Demon crushing his way through the winner's bracket until he met Zugspitze, and now he's here crushing his way through the loser's bracket, through the lower bracket, and he's facing Zugspitze again for the lower bracket final. Looks like the engineer will be able to safely escape and get over to that oil derrick. Fortunately, this engineer doesn't have the like speed boost mode that can run out and then leave him vulnerable, so he's going to be able to run over there and hop in that location. Ooh, this bear is going to get close because Zugspitze was so cautious, or was so concerned with getting stuff done over on the other side of the map. The result is that bear actually beats the engineer to the oil derrick. Sickles coming out. They're going to be able to shut down this dojo. The nice thing for Zugspitze is that it keeps at least one of the sickles on this side of the map. You can't really chance not letting that... you can't really chance letting that engineer jump into that oil derrick and take that income away from you if you're Demon. So it's annoying for Zugspitze, and it's unfortunate that, you know, he's going to spend that cash but not have anything for it. However, getting the value out of keeping that sickle on the other side of the map is nice. Finally, Zugspitze is going to get that oil derrick under his control. Demon goes for the super reactor before the MCV pack-up. So this is going to be hammer tanks, you know, relatively normal timing. Everything's looking pretty standard for Demon. And he's going to be pretty happy with overall how this opening has gone, especially considering how much he was able to delay the oil derrick of his opponent with that bear. Third refinery coming up relatively soon for Demon. He's got his MCV all positioned correctly to take that expansion. Little kind of pocket front door expansion, I guess. It's got these lovely walls, these lovely rock sections, which kind of hem it in, but then it is exposed kind of on the backside to the middle of the map where, in theory, most of the competition is going to be happening. But it's a short drive. Kind of reminds me of the community maps over on the Kane's Wrath side. Some of them have very close natural expansions, which is not necessarily something you saw in the official maps very much. All right, the dojo has been cleaned up. The wall segments are just an extra little time sink. Zugspitze doesn't necessarily need to, do anything with those wall segments, but he's hoping to waste more of Demon's time and keep Demon's forces on the other side of the map. The MCV packs up. The MCV heads to the front line. 2 hammer tanks, a couple of bullfrogs, and maybe even some sickles going to be supporting this. 2 Tengus on the north side of that, and it's going to be all about the control of these units. 3 tank busters manage to escape to the north side. There's the jump down into the ground, and it looks like the sickle is going to show up to try and break up this infantry army. I hope Zugspitze was doing this on purpose to try and delay anything from Demon, because at the same time he's going to be able to harass the harvesters just a little bit, forcing one of them off the line. Every bit of damage, every bit of economy you can deny from the Soviet player sometimes just adds up to be a winning advantage, but even if it doesn't win you the game, it's a nice win for the Empire player to shut down those harvesters, to stop them from mining. Tengu's getting dangerously close to that MCV. Tank Buster having to go back down into the ground, and the sickles have come off of the guard mode on that barracks to actually break up this Tank Buster party that was happening in the middle of the map. If Zugspitze did not intend to delay the forces of Demon with this army, then Zugspitze is just spiraling in this moment. I don't know if he was really hoping that he was going to get more. Oh, he's going straight for Tier 3. So he's gone Tier 2, and he's getting his nanotech mainframe. I feel like this is the wrong time to do that. He probably already had that built or selected when he saw Demon's army, and then by that point, well, it's almost too late. I don't know if he would have built it if he knew this much power was coming to his front door right here. The engineer is going to go for the MCV. No, he's going to go for the War Factory, as there's going to be the forced sell-off. And what good will your Tier 3 do you without a War Factory? The MCV is going to try and cut and run. This is just Tengu's hanging out over top. The MCV is going to be now stopped by this engineer, but no, the Imperial Warrior gets stopped, gets the kill on that engineer. The MCV kept in place, and Demon will take a very swift and brutal victory over Zugspitze in game number 2. These Tengus just wondering if they have anything to do. No production facilities other than refineries, and as much fun as it would be to see Zugspitze manage to come back with no production facilities other than refineries, I think it's pretty unlikely that he's going to get the drop on a 4 hammer tank reserve Demon. 5 hammer tanks on the front lines, 4 back at home. One of them fully heroic as well. These guys just burn buildings down so quickly. Zugspitze is possibly just trying to delay the game to make Demon, draw the game out a little bit more. This is one of those things that most players leave at this point, and I'm not sure what the goal... Oh my gosh, he's trying for a Eureka. He's not just doing this for no reason at all. He's trying for a Eureka. He wants to delay this game as much as possible, so he's going to snipe the terror drone. He's going to try and pull these hammer tanks off to the right side of the map, but it's not going to work. The hammer tanks are going to be too fast. There's not enough income. There's not enough money for Zugspitze, and unfortunately, this guy is going to be getting toppled by Demon. The attempt was made, but it is not enough, and the barracks will fall, signaling the end of the game. Zugspitze has been defeated. You have to give it to him. Once he was in that unwinnable situation, he still tried to pull something out from nothing. And because of that bear early on, that barracks stuck around. I think other than that, Zugspitze would have sold that off more quickly if that bear hadn't delayed his engineer by so much and disrupted the first part of his build. But that brings us to a 1-1 map score between Demon and Zugspitze. Who will take the game, take the advance into the grand finals? We're going to find out in game number 3. And that takes us to this delightful little courtyard with a gigantic, like, bust of a person on the map, Hard Lesson. And, well, this guy in the north side, the Cyan Empire, he learned a hard lesson on this map against Andri. But can he make something happen right here, right now, with his tournament life on the line? This is Zugspitze! And on the other side, also on the brink of destruction, on the edge of defeat, this is Demon. Alright, one refinery war factory. No risks taken here. Nice, safe build. It doesn't delay your second refinery by that much. And with this MCV move, the war factory isn't even coming out especially quickly for Zugspitze. So it's not like the production is going to be mismatched. I think Zugspitze might be trying to sneak out a third refinery a little bit quicker in this particular case. It doesn't have any cryocopters to worry about. The engineer is going to be able to jump in that oil derrick. There is a bear or a conscript nearby. Yeah, a bear down there on the low ground. And I think Zugspitze is going to try and go for the oil derrick of Demon, but it's not quite going to work out. Conscript gets cleared out of the building, trading 1 for 1. Terror Drone gets the kill on the Imperial Warrior. And the Burst Drone slows down the Harvester, but also gets a really good view of everything that's going on in this base of Demon. Ooh, the Terror Drone gets sniped. So Demon's first Terror Drone, he delayed his Bullfrog to get out that Terror Drone. He delayed a Sickle to get out that Terror Drone. And it gets sniped pretty early on. Imperial Warriors clear out the Flak Troopers. That's a nice catch for Zugspitze. I don't think Demon is going to let him get that oil derrick. There's a conscript following close behind. The Burst Drone keeps an eye on the MCV, but no third refinery just yet for Zugspitze. He moved his MCV halfway there, and oh, Demon actually just took this building. He didn't go for the kill. Oh, this Terror Drone getting dangerously close, but the perfect control of Demon means that the Terror Drone survives. At the same time, Zugspitze just wants to get that engineer out, and no, he actually gets a safety Imperial Warrior as well to help keep that Terror Drone from taking this. The Hammer Tank is coming in to kill the Tengu, so that's what it was. And the Terror Drone is going to go for the just run away. Well, the engineer did not have time to get into that oil derrick. Zugspitze trying to get something out here, trying to make some play for that oil derrick, take something a little bit away from Demon, you know, get some kind of advantage for himself, and it's just not going to work out. It almost worked. It almost made something happen, but it was not enough. This is so sad that both of these guys are here in this match elimination. In this elimination match here on the south side of the bracket, that one of them goes home, that we don't get to see a longer series between the two of them. We got 2 best-of-3s between Demon and Zugspitze, and finally Demon takes a game off of Zugspitze, which is sort of what we expect to see Demon, taking games off of everyone all the time. Imperial Warriors and Tank Busters making their way through the middle of the map, and the pressure is coming up. It looks like Demon is starting the MCV move to the other side of the map. It might be out to the water to go for a bit of an expansion down there. We'll see. But it makes me sad that both of these guys are potentially going to be eliminated. One of them will go down, and one of them will face Andri for the grand final. MCV helps get the kill on these Tank Busters. Tengus are here, looking to put out that little bit of damage. Still no third refinery for Zugspitze. He may have snuck something out. Yeah, he got a third refinery up top. That's what that dot is moving across the map. He's going to deploy up top. Kind of a hidden expansion, not something you would necessarily expect. But Demon is going to put on the pressure, so it's possibly just going to come down to the wall segments once again. 3 Tengus join up in the southern sea for Zugspitze. One of the few maps that isn't completely encircled by water. I mean, especially the regular ladder maps. I think they're all encircled by water. I'm trying to think if there's one that isn't, but I think all 7 of the normal ladder maps are completely encircled by water. And this is one of the few maps in the pool that isn't. There are a couple of the like Uprising or unplayed Red Alert 3 maps that have water just in the middle and are land on the outside. But yeah, most if not all of the 1v1 maps do have that water all around the outside. All right, the expansion is up in the top left-hand corner, but the MCV is going to be absorbing a whole lot of damage. There's the wall segments getting established. He drops this one early. He gets that one out just a bit before, and then he's able to build up these big, giant barriers and hold off the forces of Demon. A hammer tank coming through the middle of the map, but on the north side of this little plateau, we do have 3 Tengus looking to tango against these harvesters. At least take them off the line, deny the income, deny the production of Demon. Yep, that harvester is working away. Engineer is going to jump inside of this MCV, get the safety heal all the way back up to full. Zugspitze looking to get his rematch, looking to get his revenge against Andri, but at the same time, it would be so bizarre if Demon wasn't in the grand final. If Demon, the very fact that Demon is in the lower bracket final and not the winner's bracket final already is a bit bizarre and a bit unusual. 2 harvesters going down. That is a wonderful bit of damage for Zugspitze. The fact that he was able to get both of those and he didn't lose a Tengu for it is a really big deal. Now, Demon does have at least 7 hammer tanks here. He's got 2 on the other side of the map. No, just 1. So he's got a good number of hammer tanks already out. Denying those harvesters doesn't do anything to stop the hammer tanks that are already here. All right, point defense drones have been activated. Another power plant gets added on. The MCV is not being brought off the line for a battering ram. For now, Demon is going to try. Oh, he's trying to send the corrosion in. He's going to get the infantry. He's going to explode and just take out a big chunk of the tank busters. So many units of Zugspitze expiring here. That is not a tactic you see very often. Jumping the sickle into the middle of your enemy and going for the kill on the infantry, the bomb to blow them up. That was a great move. I can't believe Demon just pulled that out. I've never seen him do that before. I'm sure he's done it at some point in the past, but I've never seen him do that before. The bears now getting cleaned up. Eliminating those bears makes the tank busters and the Imperial Warriors that much more effective. One hammer tank gets caught on the wrong side of the fence. The more you can do this as Zugspitze, the better your engagement will eventually be when the 2 armies do clash, when the full might of the Soviet power of Demon comes against you. The wall segments get built. The wall segments get shaved off, taking bits of the army here and there. Hammer tanks have busted through the front line. There they get caught. One tsunami tank gets caught by the terror drone, and there's the crush. The hammer tank gets on top of everything. The second hammer tank goes for the kill, and the tank busters almost all eliminated, but still Zugspitze manages to stay alive. The tier 3 is out. The MCV is isolated, and Demon on the edge of defeat, but on the edge of victory as he's coming against the forces of Zugspitze. The MCV gets sniped. No more bull rush, no more crush for that MCV. The hammer tank is going to try and extract as much damage as he can. The ground army of Zugspitze is unbeatable. This defensive posturing that he does is incredible, and Demon has been defeated. Are you kidding me? Demon goes down to Zugspitze in an EVS to send him back to the grand final for the rematch versus Andri. I didn't think this guy was going to play in the tournament, and now he just knocked Demon out. He secured himself at least a top 2 finish in the Christmas tournament, and he sends Demon out of the match. That will do it. Killing those harvesters stops the reinforcements. It forces Demon's hand into that engagement where Zugspitze is in control, but Demon has to figure out a different game plan when he fights this guy. Empire players, take note. You want to crush ground armies? That's a way to do it. Wow, I can't believe he pulled that out. I can't believe he did that. I can't believe Demon's out of this tournament. Let's jump into the grand finals. And that takes us, for the first time in this tournament, to Infinity Isle. That's right, the Classic is back on the left side as the Blue Allies, kicking it from the winner's bracket, here to represent his faction. This is Andri. That is an airfield first opening for Andri, and on the other side of the map, as the Cyan, this is Zugspitze. defeating Demon twice in this event, which is funny because if it's one of those situations where, like, A beats B, B beats C, and C beats A, because if Demon had played Andri, Demon probably would have beaten Andri. But at the same time, maybe Andri would have been able to come out ahead against Demon. But it was Zugspitze. And in the winner's bracket final, Andri beats Zugspitze. And now we get to see the redemption chance, the second attempt, Tier 2 already here, Cryocopter almost done. Can Zugspitze take the game from Andri? There's the shrink of the MCV, the head to the front line. And this is going to be one of those situations where did Zugspitze manage to learn enough the last time he played against this strat to come up with a different way of dealing with this attack? Unlike Hard Lesson, this is a much more spread out main base. This refinery over here is almost just a lost cause. The advantage that Zugspitze has gotten for himself is that he has 2 oil derricks, so that is nice. He's going to need another power plant very, very soon, and he's going to have to keep it close to this Defender VX core over here. One wall segment starting to break down, the MCV crashing into them. It's a little bit weird to break the walls sometimes, but in this case, he is managing to do it. Andri is able to break through those walls, open up this area, and get his MCV down where he wants it. Every wall segment slows down the MCV a little bit, but in this particular case, the MCV is able to bust through without too much trouble. Completely walled-in airfield on the other side of the map is going to be keeping Andri safe for the current moment. The refinery still stands, but even this power plant here is a little bit too far exposed, a little bit out in the open. And with only one Defender VX core, it's going to be difficult for this Tengu to really draw the Apollos over towards that Defender core area. Multi-gunner turret about halfway done from that MCV out on the water. No more wall segments, no more ground units coming out for Andri. So Andri is not quite on his own, but the Tengus do grab the Cryocopter. There's the transform. One of them glitches out and doesn't transform. I don't know why that was. That one single Tengu, like, half transformed and then untransformed, but the airfield gets reestablished on the right side of the map. The other one gets sold off, gets a little bit of cash back for that, and gets the much closer position to start those bombing runs from. Mass Tengu works out in some games for Zugspitze. Adding the wall segments, I like that, nice and early so that those multi-gunner turrets can't hit as many targets from one location. The second Cryocopter is already here. There's the additional power plant, and one multi-gunner turret is up and running as the MCV heads for the land, even disappearing, cloaking the MCV out on the water there. Just a little bit of a visual glitch. And the Tengu's going to get chased down by those Apollos. The Defender getting a couple of shots in, but not quite enough to kill an Apollo. And it's so dangerous. You want to jump on the Cryocopter. You always want to jump on that Cryocopter, but the Apollos will tear you to shreds if you do it too quickly. 2 power plants in a pretty good position. Those 2 oil derricks just doing so much work to keep Zugspitze in this game. Of course, Andri's build is sort of inherently low eco. He doesn't have a lot of stuff to spend his cash on. He's not building a ton of units. It is about maintaining these 5 units here. Maybe sneaking out another Cryocopter, but keeping the 3 Apollos, keeping the Vindicator, and this MCV just heads out to the water. He may actually be going for an expansion out there, or just trying to create a little bit more space for some attacks to come from the north side rather than only from the south side. And unfortunately for Zugspitze, he loses one of the oil derricks there. He has been able to hold on to this refinery, but rebuilding the harvester is sort of a fool's errand at this point. He's got a lot of Tengus. If he could sneak out onto the water and shut down that power plant, that would be a nice thing to do. Cryocopter going to get the freeze on this oil derrick. Zugspitze beaconing somewhere for some reason. Multi-gunner turret deploys on land. Going to be able to start taking shots at that refinery. Immediately forces the sell-off. And it looks like Zugspitze is going to kind of pull back from there. 9 Tengus head out on a summer's day. A 10th Tengu will join in on the fray. The Cryocopter gets caught. The Vindicator gets caught. That's the ground-killing ability. Now, every single Apollo will get shut down. Too many Tengus to tango with, and without the ability to rebuild the Cryocopter at this southern location, this attack is going to be a lot more difficult to hold on to. Andri may still be able to pull something out here, but losing that Cryocopter, losing the Vindicator, puts a big reset timer on this attack. Although getting both of the power plants at once would completely shut down the production of... Oh, the multi-gunner turret is going to get it. That's unstoppable. Sells off both of the power plants. Nicely done there by Zugspitze. So he's going to be able to get out at least... Oh, actually, he goes for a dojo and not actually a power plant. That's one of those things where it looked great for Zugspitze, and then the power plant takes down... The cryo shot takes down both of his power plants in one go. And now suddenly Andri is trying to pull something out of nothing. The wall segment's going to be trying to stop this MCV. It can absorb so much DPS from these little gun units of the Empire. Even the Imperial Warriors getting in and putting as much damage out as they possibly can. And this is just buying time, I assume, for Andri. If he can get out 2 Vindicators, that could really start chipping away at these Empire forces. And now with only 1 refinery, it's just so little income for Zugspitze. Selling off these wall segments is a legitimate source of getting a little bit of extra cash for Zugspitze, and Andri has been defeated. Game number 1, the Cryo Rush fails, and Zugspitze takes the point lead. Now, this is a best of 7. Andri is the winner's bracket winner. He has to be defeated twice in 2 separate series to lose this tournament and for Zugspitze to be declared the victor. That is a tall order, but that is a great way to start it out. And we're back on Liberation Freeze. I'm not sure how I feel about this map, still kind of forming an opinion, but on the north side, as the Cyan Empire, he's happy with his Game 1 victory. This is Zugspitze. And on the south side, as the Blue Allies, this is Andri. He went for the rash and the risky. The Cryo Rush, which some people would say is unbeatable, undefendable, and of course, it got stopped. But in that first series, that is also how Andri won that winner's bracket finals. He took down Zugspitze with a Cryo Rush into a turret push. Now, one kind of interesting thing about this map is that it really is like a 2 attack path map when you just look at the land areas, a little bit like Infinity Isle in that way, in that it's just focused on that one area. Whereas something like Fire Island, a little bit more spread out, you've got those 3 potential lanes, and this has a second lane on the high ground going by a potential natural expansion of both players. So it's just a little bit of a different layout for a map, and it also has the shared expansion in the north, kind of like Cabana Republic, where it's unlikely that you're going to both take one of those refineries, at least not for very long. Oil derricks captured by each player. Burst drone just sent off for the scout. Gonna get a good eye on everything. Looks like it was airfield after the second refinery. Oil derrick going to get sniped eventually, but the dojo will get taken out, and the Peacekeeper is going to try and deal with these Imperial Warriors. They deal with the dojo before any crushes can come in, and now unfortunately for Zugspitze, he's got all of these guys on their bonsai charge, so they're not actually able to clean up this oil derrick, and they're dealing with the Peacekeepers instead. And hey, if you can get a kill on a couple of Peacekeepers, or at least a couple more Peacekeepers than your Imperial Warriors, you are trading well as the Empire player. MCV up to the high ground. 3rd refinery on the way. It's going to be a delay of the 3rd refinery for Zugspitze, but he's of course got those Tengus out on the field. Burst drone just above the 3rd of Andri gets cleaned up. 2 Apollos show up to the main base of Zugspitze, and Zug is going to try and jump on top of this. He gets 1 Apollo with some decent DPS, but the other Apollo comes back to save it, and it looks like both Apollos will escape for the current moment. Peacekeeper's going to start cleaning up this oil derrick. A hit for a hit, damage for damage, and as the third refinery comes up, Andrea is going to secure a very nice economic advantage in this match. Although now the Peacekeepers all get cleaned up. What is that, 6 Peacekeepers or something here on the ground? Maybe only just 5, but still 1,000 or maybe 1,200 credits worth of Peacekeepers getting cleaned up there. 2 Tengus go down, and, well, immediately that equation sort of equals out between those two sides. The oil derrick still under control of Zugspitze. Lovely move by Zugspitze, trying to grab that Vindicator as he passes through the middle of the map. A little trap Tengu set up there, and instead the Apollos are going to chase that Tengu away. And it looks like there may even be a Vindicator coming for a bombing run. No, not quite. That's a Javelin Soldier heading through the middle of the map. Bunch of Tengus trying to jump on these Apollos. Almost get them. Barely they do manage to escape. Those Apollos are so slippery with their super fast return to base time. And everything gets caught right there. And it looks like Zugspitze is going to start splitting off the damage. He's going to start trying to show up and do something. Lots of Apollos as a second airfield gets placed on the high ground. It's going to be Harvester Harassment, the name of the game for Zugspitze. Both of the Tengus get cleaned up, but one Harvester goes down, and now the power plant is going to be the area of damage. The Javelin Soldier trades his life for the oil derrick, and no, the power plant does not go down. So these Tengus just kind of try and escape out of here without any further losses. 3 more Tengus coming through the middle of the map, looking to pick up the Vindicator. They might be able to get one on the return journey, we'll see. But either way, the Apollos trying to guard 2 different locations at once, trying to keep 2 groups of air units safe from the Tengu menace. One Tengu gets cleaned up, and they split. That's the name of the game for these Tengus. If they can turn around and get the Vindicators, but they can't. Zugspitze getting pulled apart in the skies by the Apollos of Andrea. And once again out on the water, but now trying to get the catch on the Vindicators. He gets one, but not the other, and both Tengus go down. Suddenly, Zugspitze has gone from a confident position with a decent number of Tengus to being whittled away one by one. Vindicators and Apollos clearing the skies, clearing the ground, and now Zugspitze is on the verge of getting turret pushed while he's got low Tengu numbers as well. Cryo shot going to be landing on this power plant, and there's almost nothing that Zugspitze can do to stop that. Vindicators coming in. Looks like 3 of them in total, maybe a 4th lagging behind. We'll see. Vindicator drops 1 power plant. Tengu does absorb a burst of bombs because of the point defense drones, and the power plant is going to come online in a couple of moments. The Apollos don't get jumped on quick enough, and a 4th refinery is taken by Andrea. He's starting to carve out for himself such a lead, such an advantage in the economy with the amount of Tengus that he just killed. There is just not. Oh, okay. It looks like Zugspitze is calling that one done, throwing in the towel, it seems. And Andrea able to catch and kill so many individual groups of Tengus. 1, 2, 3 here, and then it suddenly starts snowballing. And then Zugspitze doesn't have the numbers to contend with the forces of Andrea anymore. And with Vindicators and Apollos, Andrea gets the win. Expanding behind the attacks always helps to secure that lead. That'll do it for game number 2. We're going to go into game number 3. The score is 1-1 as we come back to industrial strength. In the northern position, showing his power with his unit control, this is Andrea. And in the south, as the Cyan, this is Zugspitze. Industrial Strength, one of the more familiar maps. I guess not compared to Infinity Isle, but a map that is more familiar than some of these other ones that we're seeing. The engineer just barely going to get inside of that oil derrick, just barely going to make it. Meanwhile, the dojos are going for deployment on both sides of the map. First refinery is up. Looks like it might be a second refinery. Not necessarily a fast airfield for Andri. Double vet for that Peacekeeper. And yep, 2 refineries before the airfield for Andri. So, 1 oil derrick taken by Andri, 1 taken by Zugspitze, and I don't know that Andri will really get the opportunity, or that Zugspitze will get the opportunity to take the second oil derrick. He would love to, but I just don't think it will be possible. Buildings getting broken down. Sometimes Allied players just don't want to play this game of trading with a loss against these Imperial warriors. Because when you trade 1 for 1 like that, it works out in the Empire favor every time. Ladies and gentlemen, this may not be appropriate for children of all ages. You may need to cover their eyes and not let them see what is perhaps about to happen here on Industrial Strength. Perfect scout coming in here for Zugspitze, and look at that, Andri. What? Oh, okay, the burst drone. I was wondering for a second, I didn't see the burst drone, why he was freezing his own harvester. So you guys saw that, right? Andri built that Apollo like 99% and then paused it, built the cryocopter, and then once the cryocopter finishes up, you finish building the Apollo. And a lovely little 2 units spawn basically at once. Demon has used the same exact trick to get an advantage by having a hammer tank and a bullfrog spawn at basically the same time. And then that's a great way to potentially get some damage out in 2 directions, up and down, and to be able to disrupt your opponent's plan, and they can't quite pick off the units as quickly that way. In this case, Andri wanting that Apollo to survive and not take chip damage from those Imperial warriors have to stick around on the deck getting repairs. Well, Zugspitze did end up grabbing both of the oil derricks, so good for him. Power plant perhaps a little exposed. We'll see if Zugspitze is able to make anything happen with that. But another cryo rush 3 times now in these 2 series. Once at the end of that last series, and now twice in the 3 games of this series. One of them didn't work out, and one of them did work out. So this series is at a 1-1 map score, and it's going to be a cryo rush that determines who takes the win here, who has the point advantage in this best of 7. Cryocopter spending this time freezing down Imperial warriors. Always good for Zugspitze if he can buy a little bit of extra time. And of course, in this particular case, he's got a pretty tight setup here, pretty tight base, some exploitable areas, but at the same time, Andri could potentially take a 3rd refinery just outside of Zugspitze's base, and there isn't necessarily anything Zugspitze can do about it. Or Andri could split off a harvester and take one of these water expansions for a double refinery boost. The world is his oyster. He's got Zugspitze locked inside of this base. And even little stuff like this. It's going to be hard to save that tank buster. Well, and I guess another tank buster will fall as this multi-gunner turret is here to break down these Imperial warriors and these tank busters. But the Tengus will break down that IFV, that multi-gunner turret. The cryocopter goes down, and the Apollos are not enough to deal with those Tengus quickly. They do manage to retreat. No Tier 2 on the Mecha Bay, and there should be an airfield deployed relatively nearby, but I guess there's not, which means there won't actually be another cryocopter until Andri rebuilds that airfield. Zugspitze actually has a chance of holding this off and coming out ahead. I assume Andri's building a fresh airfield now, but it's going to be the wall segments that keep Zugspitze in this game for now. Looks like it's about 3/4 done. Tank Buster's going to go ahead and rush these multi-gunner turrets. No point defense drones on Tengus or anything like that to help absorb the damage. Barracks does get deployed. The Apollos are here. 4 Apollos to keep these Tengus on the ground. 1 Apollo not even going down as it's so low on health. Those Defender VXs getting some damage out, but not enough. 2 multi-gunner turrets behind these walls. Tank Busters are here, but now it's going to be up to the cryo shot, and I assume a multi-gunner turret in a prime position. There's the low power mode as Zugspitze Wait, what is his plan to deal with these buildings? Zugspitze is... No, he doesn't actually have to deploy another power plant. I was going to say he has to build another power plant just to keep himself moving, but he actually doesn't. The dog gets sniped, and Zugspitze holding off this attack. But it's not over yet. Andry isn't out of steam just yet. For now, it's 2 refinery versus 2 refinery. Andry hasn't been able to take down harvesters, but at the same time, Zugspitze isn't taking down anything on the other side of the map. If he could sneak off a Tengu to the other side of the map to start harassing, that would be phenomenal. But at the same time, it's really hard to justify pulling away from your defense back at home to try and attack your opponent. This might be an MCV, so I'm not sure what's going to jump inside of that sudden transport. It's going to be all tank busters. He's going to try and bust out on top of these multi-gunner turrets. The multi-gunner turrets targeting down that sudden transport immediately, but the tank busters get out some good burst damage to help break open this front door. The allied contain of Zugspitze continues as he tries to get a sudden transport out the front, and it just doesn't work. The airfield was sold off back at home. Rebuilt here, right on the front line. The cryocopter, I assume, is about halfway done. 4 Apollos stand above, and it's going to be the multi-gunner turret falls, and the airfield might go down before the cryocopter can actually finish. He's going to have to rebuild that airfield. The cryocopter does not spawn in. Andry almost ready to pump out some more freezing death upon Zugspitze, and Zugspitze has an opportunity to push this back. Andry has been defeated. Zugspitze takes game number 3. The momentum, the advantage goes into his corner. And Zugspitze, I can't even speak, takes down 2 cryo rushes. He can't beat Apollos and Vindicators, but he can beat cryo rushes. At least these 2 in these games. And that will do it for game number 3. Let's see what happens in game number 4. It's not battle-based beta, it's deep sea. Like to see these different maps. I know I've been saying that a lot, but after 100 years of casting the same 7 maps in Red Alert 3, which, to be fair, there are some pretty good maps in that pool, it is just so nice to see some really good games, some really good competition on other maps. And let's get into it. This guy taking the score to 2-1 in his favor. He's the Empire player. He's Zugspitze. And on the other side of the map, the blue allies. Is he gonna try the same cryo stuff? Well, no, not exactly. This is Andry! Andry playing some great ground-based games against Dutch Army. But if you want to win the tournament, if you want to win games, why would you not play to what you feel is your strongest suit? That is a long way to drive for a mecha bay. That is a central location. The feeling is, are you going to cryo rush me? That's the question waiting in Zugspitze's mind. He sees, I think, no refinery and the airfield. So it is going to be refinery, airfield, refinery for Andry. 3 power plants would be lovely. You just need the 2, but 3 would be amazing. And then a Defender VX core or 2 would be great as well. Ooh, 2 Vindicators. So it's not 1 Vindicator, 3 Apollos. And the MCV moves immediately. It's still within range, so we can still go tier 2. But this is a 3rd refinery setup for Andry, which means it might be a bit of a delayed tier 2, a bit of a delayed cryocopter. I don't know if Zugspitze has totally identified that. We saw the burst drone flying around the base of Andry, but I don't know if he got a complete read on exactly what Andry is doing. Andry sends the Vindicators back to clean up the Imperial Warriors. He doesn't want anything disrupting his plans, giving extra vision for Zugspitze. Andry's 3rd refinery exactly on time. His timings are crisp. His mechanics are solid. Andry is in the grand finals for a reason. 3rd refinery a little bit late, but the scare tactics worked. whether or not you're going to cryo rush. I mean, at this point, it's not really a cryo rush after the third refinery. But either way, the extra dojo was built. The Defender VX was built. The Tier 2 wasn't really delayed, but he didn't pump out a whole bunch of Tengus. He instead went for the Tier 2. And it looks like that dojo... Oh my gosh, that's wonderful! What an amazing thing Andrew just did. Using those Vindicator bombs instead of on a power plant, instead of on a Defender VX, instead of on a Harvester, instead of on a Striker, he uses them on a dojo, which doesn't even matter if it gets taken out and can just be repaired. He must think... Oh, Andrew probably thinks that that is a sudden transport and not a dojo. All right, well, Cryo Rush is on the menu, so I hope you're ready for it, but this is a beefed-up Cryo Rush. This has 3 refineries behind it, and this does have an MCV all ready to drop those turrets, and I assume drop an airfield nice and close for those Vindicators to refuel. One Apollo does go down, but there aren't Tengus in the sky to chase down these Vindicators. One Vindicator goes down, and only a Harvester has been eliminated. So the fighting has largely been in the skies between these two. The Conyard comes back up to full health, or full size, and there's the power plant on the front line. This refinery is just going to have to be sacked, but if he can buy time with the walls, that gives more opportunity for Tengus, for Strikers, for Tsunamis to come on out. Zugspitze maybe even being able to grit inside of this building, put some pressure on the power plant, be able to put some pressure on this Conyard. Oh, that multi-gunner turret is a curious position. I feel like this is the stronger area for the multi-gunner turrets, but he wants to stop any sort of units from swinging around for a flank. And that's one thing that these extra areas do allow you to do. Cryocopter going to go for the shrink on that chopper, and it looks like that multi-gunner turret has been broken down. The flank is happening. There's another shrink coming out. 2 Cryocopters are here. Vindicator going to try and chase. Vindicator getting targeted down. Vindicator eliminated. 1 Vindicator down, and the Cryocopters and the multi-gunner turret getting the kill on that refinery. Harvester dead, refinery dead, but the MCV might also be dead. These Imperial Warriors just doing so much chip damage. Yes, you have stopped the Tsunami tank, but the multi-gunner turret is going to be here to save that MCV from the Imperial Warrior threat. Little bits of chip damage are so nice, but if you can't finish the job, then Andrew just gets to keep turret pushing you, and with 3 Cryocopters, this is going to be a difficult task to hold. Lots of damage on that MCV is a good move. Cryocopters getting, or power plant getting shut down is fantastic. Zugspitze once again, the damage in the power plant is the place to go. Keeping the pressure up on the MCV. If he packs it up, no more tier 2, no more multi-gunner turrets with 3 Cryocopters trying desperately, but no! The MCV goes down, the tier 2 gets eliminated, the barracks gets sold off! I can't believe it. Andrew falling to pieces. Low power mode. He's got this multi-gunner turret. Everything that's on the field is what you see, what you get. And Andrew has to pull out a win. 5 Striker VXs waiting around a Defender VX. Andrew has been defeated. Zugspitze takes another point in this series. The turret pushes aren't working. There is something about the way Zugspitze finds damage from every angle. Imperial Warriors attacking power plants, pushing the MCV. Other players just don't seem to be able to find those angles. They don't seem to be able to find those strats to put out that extra damage, but Zugspitze is making it happen, coming from the lower bracket and taking now 3 wins off of Andrew. And that sends us into game number 5. Andrew is in the danger zone of going to the extended series. He needs to start putting more wins on the board. And we are back on Battle Base Beta. We get to see some of these classic maps mixed in with the new ones in these series. In the north, trying to be the king of chaos, this is Andrew. And in the south, trying to just survive on the edge of elimination, this is Zugspitze. He's ahead in points in this series. The cryo rushes have not been stopping him, but he is still the lower bracket champion. He's got more games to win before he can take this tournament. 1 refinery, airfield with walls, although it looks like this is going to be a double refinery play. And I mean, you know, battle-based beta, you can try and sneak out a 3rd refinery back there on the water. It doesn't always work. You know, Chopper VXs can get out there, Tengus can get out there pretty easily. Burst drone gets a pretty good vision, pretty good sight of everything there. No barracks does mean that the build is slightly faster for Andry, but he is going to lose both of these oil derricks. Always a nice touch. Someone like Zugspitze remembers to do that kind of stuff. A lesser player is not on top of those double... Oh, wow, that cryocopter is so fast that he's not actually going to get it. That is unfortunate, but it is what it is, and I mean... You tend to build those dojos anyways, so losing the dojo... Oh, don't... Oh my gosh, he turned away! He's gonna get the... He got the oil derrick because the cryocopter turned away at just the wrong time and shrunk the MCV. Can you believe that happens? Some of these guys, they just get incredible timing with stuff like this. All right, 1 cryocopter is out on the field. Zugspitze getting out a bunch of Imperial Warriors and keeping them alive. Oh, he can take both of these buildings. Keeping them alive is such an important part of everything that Zugspitze does. Andry has this one chance in battle-based beta to come back in this series. Otherwise, the best of 7 is over. Defender Corps is here. Tengu's going for maybe going to get crushed by this MCV once it goes up to full size. No, the MCV is ready to get trapped here. A little bit unfortunate here by Andry that he's getting a little bit trapped in these unfortunate positions and taking just so much chip damage on this MCV before he even deploys. He's almost down to 25% health. These Imperial Warriors chasing, which means there just is too many targets for 1 cryocopter, even with a Vindicator here, which I don't know where the Vindicator is. It was Apollo's first. I'm not sure if he was hoping that there would be more Tengus flying around in the sky, but Andry... Wait, what? Why is he... He's just... What is he... Is he going home? Andry is just leaving? He's gonna get the oil derrick? With a Vindicator? I guess? Andry is just running out to the water. He's just kind of delayed everything for no reason. I don't... This is an interesting build you got there. The build with the steps in it. There's a lot of steps in this build. But there's no tier 2. Zugspitze, I guess we can kind of just pretend that never happened, and Zugspitze is just gonna maybe go into tier 2 now, and the Vindicator's gonna get the kill on both oil derricks. Nicely done there by Andry. Cleans up both oil derricks, stops that extra income. There's been a bunch of situations where one or both players is extremely low income, and they either have 1 refinery, no harvesters, or they've got like 2 refineries and 1 harvester average between the 2 of them, and that's a situation where having 2 oil derricks makes a big difference. And in the case of Andry killing off those oil derricks, having no oil derricks and no harvesters keeps you at a complete standstill and allows you to be controlled by the other player. Tengus against Apollos. These Apollos have repairs. No point defense drones on the Tengus, but there's still good Tengu numbers here. They're starting to overwhelm those Apollos. All 3 Apollos go down, and now the Vindicators and the Cryocopters are vulnerable. The Cryocopter goes down, and these Tengus don't have to stick around to get an additional kill. They've cleared the skies. He transforms, almost entering that building on the ground floor at the same time, and Imperial Warriors looking desperately for any way to get inside of these walls, get inside of this base to start shooting some stuff. And, well, the Tengus could be sent over there to do their damage. The Apollo getting chased away. I imagine Tier 2... Oh, no, Tier 2 still hasn't been purchased. There was a lot of Tengus that just went down, so he's replenishing those, and getting up to Tier 2 would be nice. But obviously, right now, he really wants to be punching down one of these power plants, maybe even the refinery, and he just can't. Another Imperial Warrior... Oh yeah, that is a real Imperial Warrior. He didn't manage to sneak out a spy when I wasn't looking. Another dojo gets sent out by Zugspitze. Still no Tier 2. And this is where having no oil derricks, just the 2 ore refineries, is tough when you're trying to pump out this many units. The dojo will keep this cryocopter from advancing on the Empire base, at least for now. Nice little delay here. Might actually be able to grab these Apollos. No, the Apollos split off. They run away. And actually, the dojo does get saved by these Tengus and their point defense drones heading out across the map. If these Tengus turn around, I think they can take the Apollos. It's going to be close. With this many Tengus, it wouldn't normally be this close, but the point defense drone's doing a huge amount of work to allow these Tengus to win that fight. The cryocopter is going to be the next target. The Vindicator's not going to be able to do much without the cryocopter, and the Apollo's falling down. Andriy has been defeated, and without even a real cryo rush, Zugspitze takes the game on Battle Base Beta. The series is won by Zugspitze, and that actually means that Zugspitze has won the tournament. As it turns out, Andriy started the series with a 1-0 point advantage rather than playing 2 series in a row. So he started out with a 1-point lead, and that means the series ends 4-2 in Zugspitze's favor. He takes the Christmas tournament double elimination event, and he is the final champion of 2021. Well, not exactly. We do have the Turbo tournaments taking place as well, and I'm going to cover the games in those. And I'm going to cover those games in 2 videos coming up in the near future. So thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed these amazing games, and this is Cybert signing out.